for a little bit. I'm working on it
Carry it
still.
through for a while.
All right, so I'm now going live. Good evening, everyone. We are live here at the Hamilton City Hall Council Chambers. Council will begin in approximately 6 minutes. The first bit of the council meeting will be ceremonial. Today is Lincoln Alexander Day. Following this, we will have a presentation of awards to the Hamilton Fire Department. They recently won an international competition. Following this, we will have committee reports. Now, in the committee reports includes, in the general issues, the bus lane issue. But it is my expectation that council will not be debating the bus lane during committee reports, that they will finish committee reports and then get to the bus lane during council business. So what that means is that Deputy Mayor Rob Pasuta will not be chairing that part of the meeting. That will be chaired by the mayor. And Councillor Collins' motion, which was deferred in December, will be brought back to this meeting, and that will be the primary debate on the bus lane. I do not have an estimation of what time that will occur. In terms of the room right now, and I will give you a pan of the room shortly, we have the public gallery behind me, which is on the media side, is, I'd say, 80%, 85% full of people. And then on the other side, which is what you're seeing right now, the first two rows are reserved for people involved in the ceremonial activities. And as you can see, the back 3 rows the first row is reserved for staff, then 2 rows behind that are reserved for ceremonial, then public, and as you can see, that is quickly filling as well. So I'm going to kill the microphone until we're about to start the council meeting, and I hope that you find tonight's meeting informative and the coverage helpful in you deciding where you stand on the issues council will decide tonight.
Yeah, I do. Because I went down and I moved the files off of the seat.
We're just waiting for the clerks to announce for all to stand and the national anthem to play. There is some background interference once again in the city's audio feed that feeds to the media from the microphones. So I'm presently not feeding you that background audio. I will do my best to balance out the interference and to try to minimize it. So it looks like the deputy clerk's going in and we're about to begin.
Those that are able, please rise and come to order.
Good evening and welcome everyone, and please remain standing for the singing of the national anthem. much. Please be seated. And at this time, I would like to welcome Reverend Dallas Friesen to this council meeting. Originally, Reverend Friesen is from Vancouver Island and moved to Hamilton in 2002 to attend McMaster Divinity College, and happened to meet a young lady, Leanne, from Newfoundland there, and who also had moved to Hamilton, and they both attended Divinity College. And of course, you know the rest of the story. They fell in love and have made Hamilton their home ever since. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. And they produced some children, and here they are. That's right. It's the circle of life. Dallas and Leanne have both served as pastors of Mount Hamilton Baptist Church for the last 10 years and are deeply involved with the True City network of Hamilton churches. Their two children, Josiah and Lucy, attend Queensdale School. They love walking to Sam Lawrence Park and hiking the city trails. I would now call on Reverend Friesen to lead us in prayer. Reverend.
You bow your head in prayer with me. Eternal Lord, God of justice and mercy, on behalf of all those who gather here today, we say thank you. Thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve the people of our city. Thank you for the measure of health that we need to fulfill our callings, responsibilities, and friendships. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work. And we thank you for the great men and women who have and continue to serve the weak, the vulnerable, the poor. And on this special day, we give thank you for the legacy of Lincoln Alexander. We thank you that he embodied compassion and equality, and that our city and our country are better because of him. Help us to also act with character and conviction. Help us to listen to the needs and welfare of our people. Give wisdom to the men and women seated here. And with the burden that they experience as being pushed and pulled from many different angles, help them not to sacrifice the best for the sake of the good, and give them the ability to work together in harmony. I pray for the agenda before them tonight. Please give an assurance that you would be pleased with what they do and benefit those who live and work and around this city. This in your most beautiful name, Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend. Very good words and deeds. The members of the public, just to inform you, you are advised that our meetings are webcast live by the City of Hamilton and temporarily archived on the city's website. Other individuals and media may also be audibly or visually recording this meeting. Madam Clerk, could I ask, are there any changes to the agenda, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's an added ceremonial activity to recognize Lincoln M. Alexander. We're adding 2 items of correspondence, 5-9 from Earl Bassey, the Integrity Commissioner, respecting an update on the status of open inquiries to be received. 5-10, correspondence from citizens respecting the transit-only lane to be received. We have distributed a revised motion 7.6 this evening, as the copy in the agenda is not the copy that was revised at Council on December the 17th. We apologize for any confusion. And we've also added a motion on 7.7, the illegal dumping pilot project. This was a notice of motion at the December 17th meeting, however, was not included in the circulated agenda, and we apologize for this oversight. And finally, an added notice of motion by Councillor Whitehead regarding tobogganing.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Moved by Pearson and seconded by Conley. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Members of Council, are there any declarations of interest? Hearing none, we have a number of great ceremonial activities today. The most importantly, which is the celebration today of the Lincoln M. Alexander Day, as proclaimed by the federal government not too long ago. And we're delighted to have with us today as well Marnie Alexander, widow of Lincoln Alexander. Not sure where Marnie is, but Keith Alexander, son of Lincoln Alexander. Keith is over there in the corner. Keith, welcome. Next to him, his wife Joyce Alexander, daughter-in-law of Lincoln Alexander, and granddaughter Erica Alexander is here as well. And among the many tributes that are happening in our community, we're also pleased to have the Honorable Jason Kenney in Hamilton today at the Lincoln Alexander School to bring greetings and to help celebrate the event. And, it goes without saying that Lincoln Alexander was an institution in our community. He was the companion of the Order of Canada, member of the Order of Canada of Ontario, the Chancellor of the University of Guelph for an unprecedented 5 terms from 1991 to 2007, honorary police chief, and above all, could be seen in our community frequenting many local restaurants where they all knew him by his name, Link. He was a proud community booster and loved Hamilton passionately, and we're delighted today to have with us Kaylee May Douglas, who is going to perform a song in honor of Lincoln M. Alexander Day. And Kaylee is right here, and you're going to be astounded by her great talent. So Kaylee, would you join us? And technical glitch. That is not the song that she's ready to sing. So a minor problem there, yeah. It's Pi Zeus. All right, best 2 out of 3. Here we go. So while we're waiting, Kaylee, where do you perform?
The background interference that's coming from the city's audio feed, I'm unable to fully correct.
Perform in other places
Sorry.
as well? I think I heard you at another event not too long ago. Where might that have been?
Stuart.
That's it. So we forgot about mentioning that there was a great ceremony on Sunday at the Stuart Memorial Church. It was a great presentation as well, and Kaylee sang there. And
Total Praise.
Ave Maria, which is another great tune, and hopefully while we're stretching here, you're going to find a tune that Kaylee can sing, or will sing. And if that doesn't happen, can you do it a cappella? Just asking. Too much pressure, I know. Okay, I'll leave it alone. Where do you go to school?
Dr.
They don't have a
Davies.
seating
Dr.
plan.
Davies School?
Nowhere
Grade
in
what?
this building has a seating
6.
plan?
Grade 6? Passion for you?
Yeah.
Yeah? Very good.
Asking. Yeah.
So, we're almost there, I think. was spectacular. She's 11 years old, is in the children's choir for obvious reasons, and Dr. Davies School, spectacular job. She's welcome to stay, but understand if she wants to make her way as well. Councillor Green, I understand you have a motion apropos to the occasion. Please put your motion.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Through members of council, dignitaries and guests present, it's a great honor to present this motion for the first Lincoln M. Alexander Day. And whereas in 1942, Lincoln M. Alexander joined the Royal Canadian Air Force and served in World War II. And whereas in 1953, Lincoln Alexander graduated from Osgoode Law and practiced at a law firm here in Hamilton until 1968, when he won a seat representing Hamilton West for the Progressive Conservative Party in Ottawa. And he became the first Black Canadian elected to the House of Commons. And whereas Mr. Alexander won 4 elections representing Hamilton West, and in 1979 became the Federal Minister of Labour during the Clark government, later resigning his position in 1980 and becoming the chairman of the Ontario Workers' Compensation Board. And whereas in 1985, Mr. Alexander was named the Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, becoming the first Black Canadian to hold that title, a position that he held until 1991. And whereas Lincoln Alexander was a companion for the Order of Canada, chair of the Canadian Race Relations Foundation, and member of the Order of Ontario. And whereas Lincoln Alexander left a legacy as a passionate advocate for multiculturalism, who broke racial barriers and built bridges between diverse communities in Hamilton, and was a champion for youth, veterans, and seniors issues, therefore be it resolved that this day, January 21st, be recognized as Lincoln M. Alexander Day in order to commemorate this notable Hamiltonian.
Thank you. Mr. Councillor, I need a motion for you to move that item from 7.1 from the agenda, back of the agenda to the front agenda. I'm sure you have a mover and a seconder. Councillor
It is
Farr.
so moved and seconded.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. And on your motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It's indeed appropriate today that this being my first official motion on council, recognizing the legacy of a man who has been often quoted as one of Hamilton's finest. It is appropriate that we see young children here today in the audience exercising their democracies as a reminder that his legacy lives on in the hearts and minds of youth, and that his accomplishments during his time here in Hamilton and on earth were great. I think his accomplishments in inspiring further generations will be greater. And so it is with that that I am very honored and privileged to be able to bring this motion to council. I am honored that his family is here to attend and those that took time to sign the greetings, and thank council for allowing me this privilege.
Thank you very much. So it's moved by yourself, seconded by Councillor Farr. Any other comments on the motion? Hearing not, all in favor? Carried. Would be spectacular, I think. Standing recorded vote.
Let the record show it's unanimous, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Green, and thank you all for attending the brief but important, I think, recognition of the accomplishments of Lincoln Alexander. And to our good fortune, we'll be able to celebrate this day each and every year from here on in. So congratulations to the Lincoln family, or the Alexander family, I should say. And thank you all for being here for this portion of our meeting. Thank you. So further recognition we have tonight is to our Hamilton Firefighter Combat Challenge team. They're up in the audience tonight. We have a special presentation to recognize accomplishments of the 8 members of the Hamilton Fire Department who make up the Combat Challenge team. They have traveled throughout North America competing at the various Combat Challenge events representing the City of Hamilton and the Fire Department. The Combat Challenge involves the kind of skills firefighters regularly use on the job to save lives in burning buildings and burning hands every once in a while. But the special talents of Hamilton firefighters have earned them the international recognition. They've been great ambassadors to the City of Hamilton, for the City of Hamilton, and of our Fire Department, which is recognized as a leader in the fire service. So at this time, I'd like to congratulate and ask our Chief Simmons to come down and make some special presentations to the 8 members of the team, and I'm sure you'll acknowledge all of them in your presentation, Chief.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of Council, and thank you so much for taking the time from your busy agenda this evening to recognize an outstanding group of individuals. And to suffice to say that I'm extremely proud of the men and women of the Hamilton Fire Department, every one of them, for the great work they do every day in our community, and that is certainly, and I think that's indicative of the great workforce we have in general, Your Worship, in our entire organization. However, I think I'd be remiss today if I didn't acknowledge some tremendous individuals, and I think although we're recognizing them this evening for their athletic prowess in terms of what they've done in competition, I can tell you that these individuals represent the very finest attributes of our organization, and in addition to being just tremendous professionals who are out taking care of our citizens during their time of need and demonstrating great empathy, care, and compassion. I can tell you, when I think about our organizational culture and our values and the importance of collective ownership, these individuals reflect just that. These individuals have worked together, they have sought their goals, and they have done an amazing job. And they are one group of switched-on folks, or as we call it, engaged employees. I can tell you that the work that they do and how they've come together, it's worthy to note that in addition to excelling through the competition, they are extremely resourceful individuals, and while the department was able to help them in a very nominal fashion from time to time with support in kind, they have funded this through their own resources and working throughout a number of community partners. They have identified ways in which to raise money. They have simultaneously trained extremely hard for this, and I can tell you that they are one group of very resourceful, dedicated, and engaged employees. And I think what I'm most proud about, in addition to what they do out during the Field of Combat Challenge, they bring that type of enthusiasm, that type of commitment to their profession and to our department and to this organization every single day. And I think that we celebrate that this evening as much as we know that to recognize and to consider what World Championships really means and the types of effort that's required to do so. So without any further ado, I'd like to invite Assistant Deputy Chief Frank Miancucci to come forward and assist me, our Public Information Officer Claudia Mastacci to help us, and Your Worship, if you'd be so kind to come and join us so we make a few presentations here at the front of the chamber.
So the first member is Louis Boito. Mike Cascioli. Justin Kupras. Danny Polino. Neil Hubley and the little Neil Hubley.
Well, sometimes anyway.
The cute one. Mike Jones. Dean Morrow. And Brendan Sferaza. We're also recognizing tonight is Justin Kupras, who not only as a team member, but he also won as an individual champion of the competition held in Phoenix.
And Your Worship, just as we continue on, I'm very mindful of time this evening in our agenda, but it's a real pleasure to invite Dr. Paul Davies to come forward, who is the founder and president of the Firefighters Combat Challenge, and he has a very short presentation to make to our world champions here this evening. So, Dr. Davies.
Thank you, Chief. We call this the toughest 2 minutes in sport, and we mean it. The Combat Challenge has its origin in a university-based research study that was conducted at the School of Public Health, University of Maryland, back in the 70s, and essentially spawned a now international traveling and televised event. Briefly, firefighters wearing their business suit, which is, imagine going to work wearing 50 pounds before you start doing anything, and you're going to pick up an 18-kilo high-rise pack and race to the top of a 5-story tower. Then you're going to take a 15-millimeter Kern-Minill rope, hoist another 18 kilos up and over, descend the 5 stairs, coming out, picking up a shot mallet, and driving a 160-pound beam a distance of 5 feet, then racing to the other end of the court through a slalom course, picking up an attack line, dragging that 75 feet to knocking the target down, and what we call the human tractor pull, which is lifting and dragging backwards a 175-pound anatomically correct mannequin. In the amount of time it took me to tell you this, these guys were already done. So tonight, we're very proud on the behalf of Lion, our sponsor. Each one of these guys are going to get one of their own Super Bowl rings, which will take place here. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, I've had a request for more lighting down here. Are we darker than usual? If we could, that would be helpful. Thank you. And for our final presentation, but a special one indeed as well, for over 125 years, the YWCA Hamilton has focused on building healthy, inclusive, and equitable communities. The YWCA Hamilton is a woman-led service organization working to strengthen women's voices, increase their access to resources, and give women and girls opportunities to shape their lives and define their communities. The YWCA Hamilton provides a large variety of programs for addressing health and wellness, poverty, employment and skill building, transitional housing, seniors programs, supports for persons with development disabilities, youth-led programming, and high-quality active children's programs. So this is their 125th anniversary. The YWCA is excited to share this community occasion with our community, whom we have okay, that's bright enough. Thank you. Whom we have proud to serve for 125 years. So now it's my pleasure to introduce recently married Denise Doyle, CEO of the YWCA, who recently married our favorite NDP Hamilton Centre Member of Parliament, David Christopherson. We should congratulate them on their wedding of late in Las Vegas. Well done. Only took 15 years for that to happen, Denise.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And my new husband is here this evening. He's up in the corner.
Yes.
Congratulations,
David.
Okay. We have more technical difficulties, unfortunately, but that's okay. So 2014 marked 125 years serving the Hamilton community. And I don't know that I have to remind all of you that in 1889, women weren't even considered persons under the law. So we've come a long way. But we do know that as a women's organization, every single day we work very, very hard towards ensuring that women and girls enjoy more equity and equality. Even though it's 2015, we still have a ways to go. So marking the anniversary, we are very proud to be a part of this amazing legacy, and today I'm here with senior staff and board from the YWCA as we look forward to continuing to offer our programs and services that provide a social good in our community. Our future is bright and filled with so many new and exciting opportunities. YWCA Hamilton is ready to serve in health and wellness, prevention, housing, child care, care for seniors, and those who face both physical and developmental challenges. We do our work with many partners in the community, and the City of Hamilton is one of those great partners. I would like to thank all of the elected officials who have supported our work and our events. Many of you have donned high heels and walk a mile in her shoes. Many of you have attended our Women of Distinction Awards. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you for that support. It really means a lot to our organization, and we know you have a lot of demands as elected officials, so thank you very much for that. I would also like to encourage some of you who've never actually had an opportunity to come to the YWCA, to come by and visit. We're very close. We're right next door. And so we would love to have you come by for a tour. What we've done for each of the councillors is we've provided you a copy or a package of our newly branded materials so that you can take a look at some of the work that we're doing. If you have any questions, please reach out. We'd love to tell you more about the work that we're doing. One of the things I would also like to do is thank the senior staff, the leadership team at the City of Hamilton, who we work closely with every single day. It's the divisions in the city that allow us to do the work that we do on the ground. So when I think about childcare and housing, seniors, and in public health, we're able to do the great work that we do every day in partnership with the City of Hamilton. So to the senior team, the city manager, who's always accessible to whenever I call or email, to Joanne, to everyone in the senior team, thank you very much. They have done a lot of work alongside our team at the YWCA to make sure what we're doing in Hamilton, particularly we've done a lot of great work in the last couple of years in transitional living. Thank you to the team. We couldn't do the work we're doing without you. We had a video that we wanted to present to you tonight that just was a celebration of everything, and unfortunately the technology is not working. So what we will do is to end on a thank you. We will send all of the elected officials the link. You can take a look at it in your own time. And good luck on your new term of council. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Denise. 125 years of service in any community, that's quite an astonishing record, and I know that we can expect many more great things from the YWCA in the future, so thank you for that. I do have a note here from Marnie Alexander that unfortunately she's been stuck in traffic, and she wants to pass along her regrets for not having been here on time, but appreciates the special recognition that was done today for her husband, Lincoln Alexander, so just so you're aware. Thank you. Members of Council, approval of minutes of the previous meetings of December the 17th, 2014, moved by Councillor Partridge, seconded by Councillor Marula. All in favor? Carried. And that's that. On communications, can I have, we'll go through them one at a time, so I'll deal with item 5.1. All in favor? Carried. 5.2, 5.3, on 5.3. Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This is involving a resolution from the town of Richmond Hill regarding Canada Post residential delivery service, and I would like to move, and I have a seconder in Ward 7, Councillor Scott Duval, move endorsement of this resolution. It piggybacks on the resolution of the last term of council, Mr. Mayor, that we unanimously across the mountain and in Upper Stony Creek, where this proposal by Canada Post to discontinue door-to-door delivery service. We have unanimously taken a position last term of council to oppose that discontinuation of door-to-door service on behalf of many of our constituents, our seniors, the disabled, those with medical conditions, and just the fact, Mr. Mayor, that this is a public service that's been around for over 100 years. And ironically, the president of Canada Post had said one of the reasons why they were discontinuing was because they had to return to profitability and all indications are that last year in 2014 they were profitable. So that kind of makes that argument a bit of a moot point. But I know Councillors Whitehead, Duval, myself have been regularly since last summer meeting with local Canada Post reps. We stand by the decision to oppose. Our city solicitor and our general manager of public works are coming forward with a joint report on February 4th to the General Issues Committee at this in this chambers at 9:30 a.m. that morning, Mr. Mayor. And we're doing everything possible to send a message to the Crown Corporation to halt the process, take a step back, because we're hearing so much pushback from the residents in our community, especially across the mountain. And we've also now included new Councillor Doug Conley from Upper Stony Creek and Ward 9, where there's an impact as well to the possible proposal to discontinue door-to-door. I like the town of Richmond Hill's resolution. In point 4 on page 2, it talks about to inform Canada Post that the town of Richmond Hill supports the existing delivery system, wishes to retain this valuable service for our communities. And Mr. Mayor, I would strongly encourage that this council, this new term of council, further endorses and supports the fact that we haven't changed our minds. We're moving forward. And we're sending a message to the Crown Corporation that this is a valuable service, including to those who obviously are frontline employees as well. And I also want to mention that this does affect the outer reaches of Ward 11 Councillor Brenda Johnson's area as well. So 5 of your members of this term of council, 1/3, are potentially impacted with our residents, Mr. Mayor. I have been personally meeting up in Ward 6 with the local representatives of Canada Post because so many people have already had door knocking, have had flyers left in their mailbox by Canada Post reps saying that unless something changes, they will be getting a community mailbox at their particular home, on their particular property. And as you know, wherever these community mailboxes, if they go in, where they're going is on city-owned property, on our road allowance, which means they need permits and they need the approval of the local municipality. So, Mr. Mayor, we're doing everything possible. This resolution from Richmond Hill further supports and reinforces the past decision, which I hope this new term of council will further reaffirm. Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Whitehead, same issue.
Thank you. I just want to announce that, and probably we should extend it to the people impacted in Councillor Johnson's ward, but we're working with Councillor Doug Conley and Councillor Jackson, Councillor Duval, and myself, and hosting a meeting on February 18th at 7 o'clock. We're inviting Canada Post to be there. And anyone that feels that they're being impacted with the identification of the Canada Post mailboxes will have an opportunity to come to this particular meeting and ask the tough questions of Canada Post and see if we can resolve some of the concerns and issues that have been raised. So certainly welcome anyone from Councillor Johnson's ward to attend that meeting as well. Again, at Sackville Senior Centre at 7 p.m. on February 18th.
Okay, thank you. No further speakers on that item. On item 5.3 as moved by Councillor Jackson. All in favour? Carried. Seconded by Councillor Duval. Item 5.4, recommendation to receive. All in favour? Carried. 5.5. 5.6. On 5.6.
5.
Sorry?
On 5.5?
5.5.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we've been over the last year or so been critical of the Hamilton School Board, particularly through this stressful process of going through school. At the Pan Am Games Subcommittee, we were equally frustrated because we couldn't get an answer on Scott Park School. Staff were hitting a wall and they're trying to get a commitment. We could have that available for parking. And I think you've all read in the media that the soccer facility, Soccer Central is Hamilton, and the tickets are selling very well. In fact, I believe that the final games are sold out. So parking was pretty important to us. And at a recent GIC meeting, the new chair and vice chair were here. And we asked them those questions, and now it's back. The school site will be down and graded and ready for the Pan Am Games to assist us in parking around the stadium. So I want to recognize the good thing that's been happening by the school board and thank them for doing that.
Good, thank you. So on item 5.5, no further speakers. All in favour? Carried. Item 5.6, Councillor Partridge.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this is 5.6 is a letter from the Ministry of Transportation and regarding 2 areas where there's going to be resurfacing. And I'll just speak to mine. Just so my residents know, there will be resurfacing on Highway 6 North, and it will be from just south of Dundas Street, which is Highway 5, going all the way north up to just below the 6th concession. This is a very heavily traveled route. There's something like 70,000 vehicles a day that go up and down this route. It's right in the middle of my ward, and this particular area is in my ward. And I just want residents to be aware of that it is coming and it will have an impact. They're not saying, I don't think, when the start date is, but I know that for any feedback from the municipality, the date is around February the 6th, though I'm assuming that the actual construction is going to be imminent this spring. But I would like to move that this be referred to the General Manager of Public Works. And if I can get a seconder for that. Thank you.
Okay, that's the recommendation. So moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried. Seconded by Councillor Ferguson. Item 5.7. Recommendation to be received and referred to the General Manager of Planning and Economic Development. Moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Whitehead. All in favor? Carried. On item 5.8, Councillor Pearson.
Mayor, the recommendation here is for consideration of council. I'd like to move that this be referred to Audit and Finance and Administration as a new committee member is set, and I think that the historical background should be received by committee members before decisions made. So I'll move that it be referred to AF&A.
Very good. Okay, moved by yourself, seconded by Councillor Ferguson.
Certainly.
All in favor? Carried. And item 5.9, recommendation to be received. All in favor? Carried. And item 5.10. Moved, seconded. All in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you very much. Marnie Alexander is here, and I think, given unfortunately was stuck in traffic, would like to say a word of appreciation. I think, Marnie. So I think this is the appropriate time for you to do that. So feel free to have a word at the microphone, and thank you for being here. Sorry you got stuck in traffic.
Thank you.
Anywhere near the bus lane, was it?
Thank you. No.
Okay.
I think if it had been in Hamilton and the bus lane were operating in that particular situation, I would have been here an hour ago.
Oh,
so. As it turns out, Highway 6 has some problems and everything is blocked entering into Hamilton. But I managed to find the back streets, which I know pretty well, so driving Lincoln from here and yond. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for your care and attention and for your taking the time to recognize Lincoln today. I just think that he is Hamilton spun. And I was at Queen's Park this morning, and a young girl there won the Lincoln Alexander Award for Excellence in Race Relations and Communication. And so I gave her an extra hug for the Hamilton Council and for the city, and yay the hammer. So it was a very, very proud moment for me, but I think just for the Canadians in the room. I mean, Lincoln was first and foremost a proud Canadian. He may have been the first black this and the first black that, but above all else, he was Canadian and he loved Hamilton. So thank you for taking the time, and thank you for allowing me to interrupt your meeting. I'm so sorry I was delayed, and I look forward to future celebrations, traffic or otherwise. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor Pizzuto, may I have a motion on the communications as presented?
Yes, you may, Mayor Eisenberger. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brenda Johnson that Council Communications 5.1 through 5.10 be approved as amended as follows.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Collins, may I have a motion to move into Committee of the Whole for consideration of the committee reports?
Yes, you may. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Marula, that Council move into Committee of the Whole for consideration of the committee reports.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Pizzuto, the floor is yours. Lead us through the reports, please.
Thank you, Mayor Eisenberger. And we will start with the General Issues Committee presents report 15-001. Respectfully recommends item number 1. Carried. Item number 2. Carried. Item number 3. Carried. Mayor Eisenberger, may I have a motion to approve GIC budget report 15-001 as presented?
I need my glasses. The first report of the Board of Health. No, that's not the one. 1 second here. See what happens when you're caught without your reading glasses here. Let's see. That the second no. That the item. No, not that one. We are filled with technical difficulties tonight. We've got to get this organized. I've got the second report of the General Issues Committee. That is not it. This is the first one, right? So, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Partridge, that the first report of the General Issues Committee be approved and adopted as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Public Works Committee presents report 15-001 and respectfully recommends item number 1. Carried. Item number 2. Carried. Councillor Marula, may I have a motion to approve Public Works Report 15-001 as presented?
You may indeed, and it's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Collins that the first report of the Public Works Committee be adopted and the information section received.
All in favor? Thank you. On to 6.3. The Board of Health presents item report number 15-001. Respectfully recommends item number 1. Carried. Item number 2. Carried. Item number 3. Carried. Item number 4. Carried. Mayor Eisenberger, may I have a motion to approve the Board of Health Report 15-001 as presented?
Absolutely. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Partridge, that the first report of the Board of Health be adopted, the information section received.
All in favor? Carried. The Planning Committee presents report 15-001 and respectfully recommends item number 1. Carried. Item number 2. Carried. Item number 3. Carried. Item number 4. And item number 4, Councillor Farr.
Some quick thank yous, Mr. Deputy Mayor. First and foremost to my councillor colleagues. We had a great debate, asked all the obvious questions, some good delegations from the community as well. In the end, and in a short time, a unanimous decision which puts us here for ratification tonight on something completely new for our Corps, but something I think that is undoubtedly of great benefit to the people across this city. Thank you as well to Edward John and our planning staff. As noted in Planning Committee, I believe on a few occasions, we turned this around pretty quickly. And also, as embedded in this report, thanks to the architects and others who have volunteered their time and come across this region, even in some places as far away as, I believe, Toronto, with our new urban design panel, who were first to appear in a planning and economic development committee report with this particular objective today. And speaking of objectives, we have many in planning, and as council strategic objectives. We have provincial policy statements, we have municipal policy, and as this report clearly indicates, and as was debated, albeit briefly, we meet the test through and through with this particular project. We have particularly a policy to grow 250 jobs and people per hectare in our core. And in the heart of our core, we find what is clearly an adaptive reuse featuring an original facade and 30 new floors with what we're about to approve here tonight. And again, in a community that can accommodate it. With the report, we read about 98% walkability. We read about car share availability and growth, transit opportunities right across the road and just down the street. And just want to finally thank, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to Stanton Development. So I know you're here tonight for coming into the community, working with us, engaging with us as best as possible, and sharing this unique concept to not only the citizens of the Corps, but the citizens of this great city. We wish them the best of luck. Approval here tonight gets them to a stage where they can start selling units and start building at the corner of Jackson and James. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Farr. Councillor Collins.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I, too, want to thank our staff. I asked at the committee how long it took for us to develop this application. It's one of the largest developments we've seen, I think, in a long time. And I think the note was that they received it either last August or September, and it arrived quickly at one of our first planning meetings. And so I think we've put a lot of effort and a lot of resources into our open for business strategy. And I know that oftentimes our staff, we receive complaints from the development community that things don't happen quick enough. And our staff did a tremendous job, I think, on a very large project in the center of the city. As was noted in the paper, this is going to generate about $750,000 in new assessment for the city. And I was really interested, and kudos to the proponents as well, because this is one of those projects that went from almost a Heritage Wanted poster to what's now become the poster child for adaptive reuse. So kudos to the developer, too, for making such an investment in the middle of the city, and kudos to our staff for their hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. No other speakers on item 4? Item 5? Councillor Collins?
Yes, just before you receive the planning report, Mr. Chairman, I would ask, we did receive an update recently from our planning department related to the gasification plant and the EA process associated with that. I was going to ask Mr. Robichaud to publicly comment on that, if you could explain that process just for information purposes.
Through you,
Mr. Robichaud?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to the councillor. That is correct. The proponents filed their published their notice of completion and filed their documents on December 22nd. And in response to that, planning, public health, public works, and legal staff met, and we've retained an outside legal counsel as well as outside consultants in order that we can review and respond to the documents that have been filed with the Ministry of the Environment. It is staff's intent to bring forward an information report to GIC in February 4th. We have also written to the proponents and we've asked for an extension to the commenting period. The original commenting period expires February 27th, and in order to give staff more time to review the documents, we've asked the proponents to extend that for 60 days, which would be effectively to the end of April. And we have met with the proponents, and they seem to understand where staff were coming from. So it is our intent to bring forward a report on February 4th to GIC with a preliminary review and assessment of the information that's been available based on their filing to MOE, and a preliminary staff recommendation on the information based on our review and the consultant's peer review of that information.
Thank you. And I believe our staff were very proactive through the Christmas break to file those reports. I'm wondering through you to Mr. Robichaud whether it would help to have council's endorsement of those actions, knowing that that report is still coming. I understand we've already submitted the papers, so there's no holding back, but I think it's important for council to actually approve what staff have done. Is there an opportunity to do that this evening?
The proponents, through Mr. Deputy Mayor, the proponents did ask if council had authorized staff to proceed with the peer review and the work that we are doing. Staff feel that we do have it is normal sort of course of business to review those documents and provide that information back to council or planning committee. So while we don't feel that it is necessary for council to give us a formal resolution to do that, normally just as a direction to staff to continue with that course of action to report back in a timely fashion would be more than sufficient, and would remove any doubt as to why we are doing what we are doing.
Standpoint, whether I can bring that now, I can. Then I would move that direction, as was stated by Mr. Robichaud, to ensure that there's no question that council supports the actions that staff have taken in the last several weeks.
Okay, and that's seconded by Councillor Whitehead. All in favour of that? Thank you. Councillor Partridge?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. And along the same lines, at the end of the planning meeting, which I chair, there was an update given by Jason Thorne, who is on vacation right now, but it was with regards to the draft rural zoning changes. And I'm just wondering if I can ask Mr. Robichaud to give an update on what the process is going forward for the draft zoning changes. As you know, Mr. Deputy Mayor, this affects the rural area, and a lot of the zoning changes that are being made in the rural area are going to potentially impact our farmers and certainly our businesses that are located, not just in Flamborough, but right across the whole rural areas, so including Councillor Johnson, your area, as well as Councillor Ferguson and some others in North Stony Creek as well. And we've had extensive public meetings on this over the last year and a half, but it definitely has come to light that there is going to be an impact on our businesses out in the rural area. So just for the assurance of our residents who are living in the rural area, I'll ask through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, if Mr. Robichaud could give an update in terms of the process going forward, please.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to the councillor. You are correct. We have had extensive public consultation with stakeholders and individuals over the course of the last 2 to 3 years, and we've been having focus group meetings following up on the information we received. And most recently, I believe last week, it was at the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Advisory Committee. On a go-forward basis, we are targeting bringing forward the recommended draft rural zoning regulations to Planning Committee on March 31st to hold the statutory public meeting. The intent is to have that meeting at both an afternoon and an evening session, and that for committee to receive the input and the delegations receive that day and direct staff to go away, review, analyze the feedback that we received, make any recommendations, and to report back to Planning Committee at a subsequent point in time. So no decision would be made on March 31st. We are currently looking at developing our communication strategy to make sure that all property owners and residents within the affected rural area are aware of that public meeting, and we will be coming forward with that information shortly. But once again, it was March 31st, both an afternoon and an evening Planning Committee session in order to hear public input and delegations on the proposed draft rural zoning bylaws and the changes that we have made as a result of the feedback we received to date coming out of the November-December open houses and consultation sessions.
And thank you very much for that. I think it's important for the residents to hear that staff are sympathetic to some of the impacts. They have listened at the particularly last 4 public meetings that we have had. And as Steve said, there is not going to be a decision on the March 31st meeting. I think it's very important for our residents to hear that we will allow further input at that meeting. A decision will not be made at that time, but they will go away, they will tweak what they can, being staff, and then bring a final report to the Planning Committee either in late May or early June. And, this is the way business needs to be done. It's not that we just hear from our residents 1 or 2 times and then, put through whatever the changes are that we feel should happen. We are going to be listening to the residents. We have been. This has been a very big deal for the councillors who are in the rural areas. And I do want to recognize that staff has stepped forward and is handling this in a very prudent manner and listening to our residents. And I thank them for that.
Thank you, Councillor Partridge. Councillor Whitehead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is when I left the committee, I believe there was supposed to be a joint report coming forward. I'm trying to look at the outstanding list within the Planning Committee. And it was dealing again with the conversion of rentals to condos. And there was a threshold. We were talking about leaving very little choice for people that don't have the financial means with very poor quality housing and rentals in this community. So the issue was, I believe we had a 3% threshold in determining whether or not you do the conversion from rental to condo. My understanding that threshold or that number is actually lowered now. It's around 2% in the city of Hamilton. Have we made the adjustments accordingly in the planning?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to the Ward Councillor, the official plan policies may permit a conversion under the vacancy rate test is 2%. So it's 2% either citywide or 2% by unit type within each of the housing submarket areas. In addition, we also look at an affordability test based on average market rents, and that the rents of the building that are proposed to be converted cannot be less than 10% of the average. So if the average rent was $100, then the rents that are the units being converted can't be any less than $90. Because those are official plan policies, we cannot just change those unilaterally. We would have to go through a statutory process in order, a public meeting, et cetera, to make those changes. So those policies that were adopted by Council and approved by the Minister and the Ontario Municipal Board are the current policies that are in force in effect dealing with conversions.
So it went from 3%, it's down to 2%. It's still within the threshold under our current policy. I did raise an issue in regards, in respect to, are we leaving just poor quality rentals in the wake of this policy? My understanding that is being studied. I thought it was a joint committee between Planning and Emergency Services. Do we have a date for that report to come back?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. There was a joint report that dealt with the impacts of the conversions, the numbers, et cetera, et cetera. We have been sort of monitoring the situation in terms of working with MLE in terms of the quality of the rental housing stock and having some discussions with some of the major landlords, but we do not have a target or a time frame for bringing back a report to committee at this point in time.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Whitehead. No further speakers. Councillor Partridge, I have a motion to approve the Planning Committee Report 15-001 as presented.
Yes, you may, Mr. Deputy Mayor. It is moved by myself and seconded by Maria Pearson that the first report of the Planning Committee be adopted and the information section received.
All in favor? General Issues Committee presents Report 15-002 and respectively recommends item number 1, item number 2, item number 3, item number 4, item number 5. Councillor Aidan Johnson.
Thank you. Mr. Deputy Mayor, you can correct me. My understanding is that I am within my procedural rights at this moment to introduce a motion that's available on the yellow pages from the report from the last GIC meeting regarding reconfiguration of the transit-only lane. It would be moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Green. So, assuming that I do have that procedural right, I'll continue.
Rose?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, yes, the councillor could raise a motion at this point. If he wishes to lift an item in the information section, you have to do that first. Have a lifting motion approved, and then proceed with the motion.
So moved, Madam Clerk, or rather, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
So, Councillor Aidan Johnson, you want to lift it?
I do.
And seconded by Councillor Matthew Green.
I'm pleased to read the motion out. The text will be familiar to Council as the motion regarding reconfiguration of the transit-only lane discussed at the GIC meeting. And I'm pleased to read it out. I believe that's procedurally necessary in any event. So I believe we've now lifted, and I'm proceeding to move my motion.
Councillor Johnson, just one moment. Rose?
Yes, you would have to vote on the lifting of the motion first.
Oh, pardon me.
Mr. Aidan.
Okay, but nobody has the motion before them. Is that correct?
It's item 4 under H.
All right. Okay, on lifting of the motion. Pardon?
Pardon me, under F.
Councillor Jackson.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, my apologies. I just want to clarify what Councillor Aidan Johnson is doing so that all members of council, we're on the same page here. Through you to Councillor Aidan Johnson. It's on the information section of the General Issues Committee report, page 10 of 13, Roman numeral 4. Through you to Councillor Aidan Johnson.
That is correct, under letter F.
Thank you very much, Councillor Johnson, and maybe he might want to read that out for everyone's edification. Just a thought. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Partridge, now come back to Councillor Johnson. Councillor Partridge.
Yes, thank you very much, and I appreciate Councillor Jackson raising that. I was just going to say that I would like to hear the motion read out, if you would, please.
Thank you. And Mr. Deputy Mayor, just to clarify, we're still on the lifting motion, just so I'm on the right page, right? Yeah. So here's the motion that I'm proposing that we lift. Part A, that staff be directed to review the feasibility of having the King Street transit-only lane reconfigured in spring 2015 to the second lane from the north curb, with parking being reinstated in the north curb lane from Bay Street running westerly. And Part B, that staff be directed to evaluate potential improvements to signal operations to be implemented in spring 2015, including transit priority, in order to continue to improve the overall operations throughout the corridor and report to the General Issues Committee.
Councillor Johnson, we have to vote on the lifting.
Yes.
And that was moved by yourself and seconded by Councillor Green. All in favor of lifting it? Carried. Any opposed? Okay. Councillor Johnson?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Just again to clarify, my understanding is I'm now speaking to my motion. Yes? Correct. Thank you. I'd like to thank my council colleagues for giving me this opportunity to revisit the issue that we discussed last meeting. At our last meeting, I presented 5 arguments for keeping our bus lane and improving it and reforming it. And I'd just like to quickly revisit those without belaboring the debate too much. The 5 points I raised are the 5 arguments for keeping and reforming our lane are community building, economy, ecology, equality, and the need to treat needs as needs and wants as wants. Community building, Mr. Deputy Mayor, really refers to building stronger neighborhoods with links between our neighborhoods. The bus lane exists, and the reformed bus lane would exist so as to permit people in West Hamilton and East Hamilton and throughout the city literally to visit each other and work with one another more readily and more easily. The bus lane goes right through Ward 1, which is my ward. It was a ward represented as a federal riding by Lincoln Alexander, who we're celebrating tonight, a man who is all about community and bringing people together. It is in that spirit that a movement has grown up to protect and reform our bus lane. I'd like to thank the many members of the public who have gathered here tonight to show their support for public transportation in Hamilton, of which this bus lane is obviously a deeply vital symbol. At our last meeting, I mentioned the fact that I'm the proud owner of a driver's license, the proud owner of a car, and a person who loves driving. Mr. Deputy Mayor, I'm also a person who rides HSR every day, and I ride the bus lane most days. And I find it a very efficient way to travel. I find it a safe way to travel. And with some reforms, it can be a way to travel that respects the rights of car users on our roads. And that can be a true step forward toward complete streets in our city. As a proud HSR mover, as well as a city councillor, it's an honor to be bringing this motion tonight. The second argument is the economy argument. I was very interested this week to hear arguments brought in the Toronto municipality by Mayor John Tory, a friend of fiscal conservatism, who argued in Toronto this week that Toronto needs to be investing in better public transportation for the city so that workers can better move around the city and so that Toronto can advance as a sophisticated, modern, urban economy. It's a version of the John Tory argument that I'm bringing tonight, Mr. Deputy Mayor. It is good for the Hamilton economy and for business in our city to invest in public transportation. This bus lane is a step toward the public transportation that we need as a Hamilton regional economy. Third argument is ecology. In our culture, in our politics today, we have a really big problem. A lot of people don't know what to think about climate change. Is it real? Is it not real? Climate change deniers are very powerful and have made a lot of people very confused about whether climate change is real. The third argument for the bus lane is scientific. Global warming is real. If we as governments do not do more to create better public transportation, we are in dereliction of our duty as governments that must protect the environment. Fourth argument, thank you. The fourth argument is from equality. Low-income people disproportionately use the bus lane. Students and youth and seniors disproportionately use the bus lane. The bus lane is also used by Darts Transit. Disabled people disproportionately use the bus lane. In the name of equality and the dignity of all Hamilton citizens, we need to keep and reform the lane. And to conclude, Mr. Deputy Mayor, the fifth argument is philosophical. We need to treat needs as needs and wants as wants. And the question is keeping and reforming the bus lane a need that is vital, where we have no choice but to do it, or a mere want, something that's a frill, something that's a distraction? On Saturday, I had the privilege of attending a meeting at our McNabb bus terminal downtown with Councillor Green, who's seconding the motion, to witness the formation of a union of HSR users in the city of Hamilton. And the message from that meeting is loud and clear. The bus lane and the better public transportation improvement, of which it is a vital part, is not a mere want. This is a need. For that reason, I move my motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Aidan Johnson. I'm going to try to kind of keep a rule here to 5 minutes. Sometimes we get carried away in too long. Try to make a point close as you can. Okay, I appreciate that, and everybody would too. So, Councillor Farr.
Appreciate you mentioning that rule just as I'm going to speak. Quick question. Quick question first. 2 questions, one for Jerry Davis, one for Chris Murray, and then I'll have my 5 minutes, please. Through you to Jerry Davis, our General Manager of Public Works. January 14th, we had this information report, item 8.3. It featured 3 alternatives, 2 of which were supported by staff. They're featured in the motion that's before us today. Yes or no, did you sign off on that information report?
Mr. Davis, please.
Through the chair, yes.
Through you to Chris Murray, our City Manager, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Modal shift, what does it mean as we look to the future of this great city and in terms of planning for this great city?
Mr. Murray, please.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, if you look at the population and employment projections to 2041, we will be a community in that year, or we're projected to be a community in that year of having somewhere in the order of about 750,000 people, which would be about 225,000 more than we have now. As you intensify and you grow following the principles of smart growth, which is what we've done through our official plan, which is certainly advanced in our master transportation plan and further advanced in our Rapid Ready document, you want to try and ensure that you have a very healthy transit system to serve your community, not just in terms of land use development, but as I've pointed out in the past, with an aging population, you also want to ensure that you have a modal split that is going to afford you more transit opportunities to serve that population of aging people who we want to live out their lives in their home and have a decent transit system so that they can access all the points in the community they need to.
Thank you, and for the record, I did not rehearse those questions or answers. Jerry's was rather easy with either of our staffers prior to this. So let's get right into it because this is serious. I cannot support quitting on this, which is essentially what we would be doing here tonight if we disband the transit-only lane. I know it was a pilot. I've been on the front line right from day one. I did not duck and dodge. I dealt with this head on. That disastrous start, we were not successful. For a few weeks there was everything from faded paint to 3 accesses closed to arrows pointing the wrong way. It was a very difficult scenario. When you get off to a bad start on a major project, it's hard to win back the people. I think we have, certainly in Ward 2, with a lot of engagement through 3 BIAs, businesses, and obviously residents and transit users, that has occurred. The shift of support as early as a poll this afternoon shows that people are now getting on board the bus lane and getting in favor of what's here and not wanting to quit. Our citizens want to make it work, to make the staff recommended adjustments work. Staff supported adjustments with alternative 1 and 2. That's what we were debating right from the get-go and 6 hours later. We can make the parking work. We can make the traffic flow work. We can decrease any real or perceived business disruptions, and we can engage to a greater extent. And I hope and trust that since GIC and since that lengthy debate, my colleagues, that we have come to the realization that this is no small or isolated issue as it relates to the growth and development of our beautiful city. What this decision does represent is forward thinking. It is the future. It is now. We are serious. When we endorsed and improved a plethora of plans that are in this report and date back as far as 2007 that speak to this very issue, we are serious about modal shift. You heard our city manager just now. It is strategic objective after strategic objective over a series of different endorsed council reports. We're serious about inclusive planning in our city for transit riders. They matter. The seniors, the school kids, the workers, they matter. We're serious about our environment. We're serious about economic development. And with that, on the business side, we did relay to you I did facts at GIC. 30 new business licenses the year of the bus lane. As a follow-up to that, and because someone asked on RTH, in the 2 years prior, we had only 46. That's good, but the averages are way better the year of the bus lane in terms of business licenses we issued. Business facts, the year of the TOL. We know there was more business investment on facade improvements as well, $1.2 million worth during that year of the bus lane, which was more than any other year. It was up from the previous year by, I think, about 12%. We know there are many people that are on transit, and they do shop, they do eat, they do vote, and they do invest. A recent councillor survey during the GIC debate learned about it. It finds more residents in favor of maintaining this bus lane during further community engagement. A survey today again showed it. 1/3 of people, more than half, much more, are in favor of making it work. Keep it and fix it. We can make it work. Instead of quitting on this, we should utilize existing tech and improve the flow. Priority signals to get our buses to the terminal more smoothly on McNabb. Cameras that will be in place for Pan Am all along this route that feed up to the Ward 6 command center that we could use. With one FTA and holding a cup of coffee, he can fix the 403 slowdowns that we regularly get and bus lane slowdowns at the same time. Talk to traffic ops staff, they'll tell you that. Finally, thank you to everybody here. This is amazing. This turnout, this previous engagement from many people in this room for many weeks, a lot of fun facts. I love the reminder that teens don't buy cars anymore. It's proven. Talk to the big three. They're interested in this modal shift that we talk about and we plan for as council. It was a minor blip in fender benders. I'm glad we were reminded of that. And while we were reminded of that by somebody in this audience that probably engaged, we were reminded that it was a major winter last year as well, and that it is a bus lane and not bus lanes. So many more interesting pieces of engagement from so many people who have shared with all of this council over the last few days since a lengthy debate with you, my colleagues, on why this is a serious issue. This is vital to the future of our city, and the future is now. Thank you, Mr. Deputy.
Matthew Green, please.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I promise I will keep my comments brief, as we have so precisely and passionately already laid out very compelling arguments. But to my colleague's earlier point about his fourth point about equality, I would like to expand on that. We have heard issues brought up by my colleagues around timing and need. The question was raised about technical need, and the figure was brought out that there would be a technical need of 2,000 riders for peak hour. And I would like to challenge that assertion. I would like to say that there is a social need. And in the studies that were brought forth in our last committee meeting, we recognized that there was almost 50% parity of bus riders versus cars. Mr. Deputy Mayor, there are regions such as Kitchener-Waterloo who are operating this at their full expense with a much lower ridership. Mr. Deputy Mayor, we know that we have an aging population. We know that we have rising costs of gas. We know that we have rising costs of insurance, particularly here in the downtown core. So to the question of timing, when is there a good time to lead? Roads are designed for the movement of people and goods through our streets. We can make it better. We can make it work. And what question are we sending to those that are riding these buses at almost 50% parity? What question are we telling them in terms of where their priorities lie? Mr. Deputy Mayor, I ask that the council colleagues around the table consider these points, consider the participation of our members at large, and make their votes accordingly. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. And let me start off by saying that I believe that the bus lane has failed, but it's failed because, frankly, the sample is too small, the data is incomplete, and it needs to be longer in distance. So in looking at the present data that we have, staff has acknowledged all of those facts and that the data is basically useless. So by killing this prematurely, we're in a situation, Mr. Deputy Mayor, that we're moving forward without any sort of idea of what the true impact is and making it useful. I think we need to rewind and remember why we even went down this road. And Mr. Deputy Mayor, as you can recall, in 2007, we reported a plan. In 2008, staff indicated and strongly recommended LRT. We then subsequently moved forward to incorporate a pilot project that would assess what the impacts would be for us to measure and then evaluate to basically to the betterment of the service itself. What transpired was simply change that people are resisting, not because of the data, not because of inconvenience, but just for the sake of change itself. And I can't endorse that. And in looking at the objectives, and in looking at the data, and in looking at what we as a city have traditionally done, I look at the subway example, and the fact that we don't have a subway in this city is because there was a city council in 1959 that rejected that subway. That is rapid transit. That was the first rapid transit exercise and challenge the city was faced with, and that council rejected it. Imagine how different the city would be today had that line from Centennial to McMaster University, ironically, and from Mohawk Road and Upper James to Burlington Street, as well as Upper Ottawa from Mohawk to Burlington Street, existed today. Imagine how that would have changed the face of the city. But at that time, as a result of either lack of vision or courage or whatever it was, or perhaps even the public pressure, they failed to meet the challenge to move forward that would have changed the city in a significant way. So I say that when you look at this in public transit scenario alone, I think you're looking at it in isolation and not in a global perspective. You must incorporate the economic development components, which clearly states, based on best practices, that this is the best thing to do, clearly. Having married a French citizen and visited Europe, I can recall back in 1988, 89, being fascinated not only by their public transit system, which is second to nowhere in the world, but also even their waste management. They're very progressive, and they're very progressive in Europe. I don't think because they're more innovative, but they're forced to deal with challenges in a proactive manner. And I understand that we can be reactive, but I believe we need to be proactive, because by being proactive, we're looking towards the future and taking it incrementally to a point where we need to be in the future and not react and create a crisis and follow the lead of Mike Harris. If you can recall, that was his slogan. Let's create a crisis in order to justify our means. But then let's look at the cost of doing that as well. $1 today and what that same dollar will be worth 15, 20 years from now is astronomical. We saw what occurred with the delay in projects in the city. We saw it with the expressway. We saw it with the stadium. We saw it on so many levels that we have a tradition of being a could have, should have, and would have city. And I think we need to be we must city. And we must do this not for any other reason but the fact that we need to be incremental, measured, intelligent, and focus on issues that are in demand right now. We have a changing demographic in the city. We have Torontonians moving in, and they are expecting that these changes occur. I still believe strongly that some of the biggest weaknesses we have are those that were born and raised in the city, and I'm one of them. Because the negativity and the lack of belief and courage to make changes is almost innate in Hamiltonians, those of us that were born here. And we are the proudest people in the world when we meet each other outside of Hamilton but we become somewhat destructive and dysfunctional within our own cognitive process and the way we think about ourselves. And that, I think, is representative at council sometimes, because we limit ourselves to such an extent. I can recall one time coming from Buffalo, and I was at a Buffalo Bills game, and I took a cab from Buffalo to Hamilton. Don't want to get into a story why, but I did. And I can recall when the cab driver, when getting into Hamilton on Lawrence Road, he looked around at the escarpment, and I take it for granted every day, and I drive it every day. But he took a look at the city, and he said, and it was a black American, and he said, you know what, man? He says, this is incredible. And it struck me as odd that so close but yet so far. Buffalo is so close but yet so far from the perception, because most people just drive by it. And we all know that. But we also need to recognize that that one cab driver is also representative of most Torontonians. They're now being encouraged to come here and look for housing, and when they arrive here, they're our biggest cheerleaders, more so than our own Hamilton residents that were born and raised here. So we need to break that negative, almost innate Hamiltonian trait of the coulda, woulda, shoulda scenario, and then simply accept it for what it is as opposed to what it could be. And let's face it, we have LRT in Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Victoria, Ottawa's building it, Montreal's building has one. They are even building one as we speak in Detroit. So if Detroit can be building an LRT, why on God's earth can Hamilton not do that? And I just simply, I don't want to dismiss anyone's arguments of opposing this, because every argument is valid. And I know sometimes we lose sight of the actual issue itself, and it becomes based on personalities, but I think it's important that we rise above the personalities and we look at the real issue. Is that, and I implore my colleagues, those particularly on the mountain, where I have a lot of family and I lived a lot of my years on, that they are willing to listen. Mountain residents are willing to listen to this, for not only the benefit of downtown, but for themselves as well, due to the assessment growth. And I say to them, this has basically no impact on those commuting to the core. They're traveling north-south. Most of the impact that this has are those coming from, and Councillor Collins is legitimately from his constituents, are those coming from Stony Creek into Ward 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So it really is a localized impact. Those driving north or south to the core, it's incredibly irrelevant. So if this were a mountain issue, I would, and they know this for a fact, and I say this with a great deal of confidence, I would be approaching them and asking them to provide a leadership role in why I should be supporting them. And all I'm asking for is for them to listen to me accordingly. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Councilor Marula. Mayor Eisenberger.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Aiden and others for putting forward the motion. I think it's a positive motion that I think really talks about the kind of steps that we're going to need to take to deal with our future transit needs as we go forward. It's not really entirely about today. It's really about tomorrow and what happens in our future generations and the demographics that's changing. That was mentioned a little while ago. As mentioned in the paper the other day, we are becoming an older community, an age-friendly community, I hope, that is prepared to look at some of the kind of changes we need to make to be able to accommodate the kind of demographic changes that we know are coming. Part of the demographic change is we have more seniors in our community, and that will continue to grow. And the other demographic change is that the youth of today are either making a choice not to own a car or can't afford to own a car. And that then causes them to rely on public transportation in a much greater way than they ever have in the past. And it really is the kind of evidence that we need to look at to ensure that we're making choices that actually accommodates the kind of changes that we're talking about. I'm supportive of the motion and direction. I think we can fix this bus lane. The minor adjustments that I think that are required are indeed minor and can be done cost effectively. And, in terms of delay times, I've sat in different parts of the city, actually. I made a point of driving through Waterdown, and coming back from Waterdown, I actually stopped at the corner of Highway 5 and Highway 6, and lo and behold, I sat for about 5 minutes to turn the corner onto Highway 6 to come down the hill. 5 minutes to sit there. I went up to Upper James and tried to get from Fennel to Rymal Road on a Saturday. That's almost 20 minutes to get to that short space of distance. And I didn't see anybody in their cars complaining about the impediments that were there. They were just going about their business as if this was normal practice. And in fact, it is in many parts of our city. Many areas. Queenston Road is another area closer to where I live. On a given day, especially at rush hour, you can sit for a long time to go from Potter's Road to Centennial Parkway. It is a traffic jam, and so the question becomes: can we expand all those roads to make it better, or should we look at enhancing our public transportation system for two reasons? One, air quality is an issue in the city of Hamilton, has been for a long time. Our medical officer of health each and every year reports to us that 300 people die as a result of poor air quality each and every year. Not solely because of automobiles, but predominantly because of the air quality caused by automobile traffic, truck traffic in our community. That's a significant number. If that number were applied to anything else we did in our city, we'd be up in arms. But the reality is it's happening. And so how do you address that problem? You address that problem by finding a way of moving more people on a more environmentally friendly approach. And that is in a transit system with a dedicated lane that actually moves them through our city more efficiently and more quickly. I think that's a smart thing to do because we can actually improve our air quality by doing that. And as we expand the service out, it makes even more sense to improve our public transportation system well beyond what we're proposing on this small little piece of bus line. And it is small. As some will say later on, it should have been bigger and should have been a longer project that would have made a larger swath from Queenston Road all the way to McMaster as kind of a pilot project. But I understand the nature of a pilot project. And yes, it was a tortured process starting off. And even though I wasn't here, I understand the difficulties that members of council here went through as they got through that process. But now we're at the end of that process, and I'm not seeing any kind of torture now. What I'm seeing is something that actually is working quite efficiently. I'm not hearing a lot of complaints from folks in the broader community. In terms of messages to my office over the last couple of days, 130 email messages and Twitter messages in favor, 30 opposed. If that's a poll, I would say that's a very good thing. I'm not going to belabor it either. I think everyone will vote their conscience on this issue. I understand that, and I understand it's been a difficult issue for many people in this community. I appreciate, though, that this issue has galvanized the transit users, and I think the voice of the transit users need to be heard more loudly and more often on this issue as we move forward on our future transportation plans. So I want to commend Matthew Green of inspiring this kind of gathering and all the people that came together. Given that, I encourage them to keep their voices as part of this whole process today and tomorrow, because there's much more to do on the transit side. So the more active and informed the transit users are, the more active and informed we will all be, and hopefully we will reflect their opinions and their choices and their ideas in the future transit system as we go forward. So I thank you all for your consideration on this issue. I do hope that members of council will consider this small project as something that we can continue, that we can improve, we can make better. And I want to thank Councillor Johnson and the seconder for putting it forward. I think it's a wise step for us to make, and I hope that we give it serious consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Eisenberger. Councillor Duvall.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And through you, can I ask, I guess it'd be Jerry? Jerry, the report that we received at GIC on January 14th. Is this an information report, or is this were staff making recommendations?
Through the chair, it's an information report.
Information. Okay, that's what I thought I heard at GIC. And for some reason, it's out there that, and I heard it tonight from one of the councilors, that staff is making recommendations, and that's just not the case. So I just wanted to clear that up. And I know the motion that's in front of us, and I know we all tested it out before, but I don't understand what the motion is for, to just move the parking back west of Bay from the south side to the north side, when this design is not even a preferred option from staff. That's what they wrote in here. And I remember in 2013 when we did this, one of the reasons that everybody was kind of having a hard time putting it through, and they wanted to support the bus lane pilot project going forward, was when they moved the parking from the north side to the south side. We thought there was going to be a little bit of pushback, but according to that report in 2013, the ward councillors at that time advised that the businesses were satisfied with this mitigation, and they knew there was going to be some loss of stalls, and they knew, and we debated the safety of it for the people that were loading the vans that are going across the street, and we're told, oh no, they can use the traffic lights, it's going to be okay. And I remember we were concerned about taxi drivers not having to be able to load on the side of the bus lane to drop them off. And when we asked it the first time, that no, we can have the people, they can be dumped off of the south side, and they can walk across the street too. We debated that, all those issues, and in fact, we tried to push to keep it on the north side, but no, we were told this is the best thing, and the ward councillors agreed with that. Now, all of a sudden, surprising, what I'm hearing in front of us is, let's put it back to the north side, and we'll have the bus lane into the second lane, and even though staff does not prefer that from the operational perspective. So I'm trying to find out what is the answer that we're trying to do. And as I said at the GIC, I would like to stop this. And I think there's some good ideas. I think we all want to have the bus lanes as we're going forward. I mean, it's a good vision for the city of Hamilton. But right now, we don't have the buy-in, and as some councillors have even suggested tonight, this was not a very good starting point and there was a lot of mistakes. And now we're just doing stuff on the fly to keep whatever we can keep. So why don't we ask and look at it and stop it and ask staff to go back and relook at this procedure of how we want to do this, because everything in this report that I read on January the 14th, it kind of views things of, let's keep going west. But I understand when we're doing the BRT and the LRT, we're looking at going from Eastgate all the way to Mac. And as Mr. Dixon said from the HSR, one of the biggest problems that we have is that bottleneck of Wellington Street. And everybody seems to disappear from here, what that is causing one of the biggest problems. But we just want to keep on doing it and not come up with a plan of how we're really going to have a bus lane and make it work so that everybody can have a buy-in, because I think that if we do it on the fly, any tweak, and if it's a wrong tweak, then we're going to have everybody up in arms again. So my suggestion is that we take a big breath, stop, and let staff come back with a transfer. With all that data they have so far, and put it into the master transportation plan that's going to be coming in 2016, and see what we can do from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duvall. Councillor Brenda Johnson, please.
Yeah, thank you. And firstly, I was not at this meeting. As you know, I was on bereavement leave, so please bear with me as I go along. Initially, I voted against the bus lane, because I felt it was too short. I understand it was part of the Rapid Ready report, but I really don't like the fact that we can just pick and choose from that report, throw it against the wall, see if it sticks. We learned the hard way that's not the way to do it. Having said that, I'm not prepared to throw the baby out with the bathwater, which is why I can't vote against, I vote for 7.6, which is to eliminate it together. Does it need work? Absolutely, it needs work. But conversely, I'm not interested in tweaking things on the fly. I understand that there is a transit report coming forward. I'm willing to wait for that to come forward, and then let's go through this and do it thoroughly. I would be more comfortable with that. I don't like doing things and tweaking things that are not in the report, that are in the report, that we discussed before, that staff didn't recommend, because ultimately it jumps up and bites us in the rump later. And it has done that. So my suggestion is that we defer this until the transit report comes in. We take a look at the holistic picture and not just the 2 kilometers, but the entire thing. And then we can make a good decision, in my opinion, a good decision. So I'm sorry I cannot vote for this, but I also cannot vote for 7.6. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. I don't have any further speakers on the list down here. So, Councillor Farr.
I'm first time speaker. I can call a question. Right? Procedurally, can I call a question?
Rose. Councillors Rose.
Yes, if the council wishes to proceed with calling the question, you would get a seconder, and as long as the first time speakers list is exhausted, that question will be called.
First time speakers list is exhausted.
He's acquiesced.
Councillor Marula.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, and I spoke with the movers, and I'd just like to put forward a friendly amendment to have staff be requested to report back to council the feasibility of expanding for assessment purposes.
Friendly amendment to the motion. Okay. As amended. Standing recorded vote. On on the amendment. On the amendment, sorry. Friendly amendment? Seconder on the amendment? Rose, you're looking at me. Rose, please.
Yes, Mr. Deputy Mayor. The amendment should be moved and seconded and voted on. Yeah.
Okay. The amendment? Moved by Councillor Marula. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Farr? All in favor? Carried. Opposed? Standing recorded vote on that. Rose, please. Okay. All in favor? On the amendment. On the amendment.
Mayor Eisenberger, Councillor Aiden Johnson, Councillor Farr, Councillor Green, Councillor Marilla.
Opposed?
Councillor Collins, Councillor Jackson, Councillor Duval, Councillor Whitehead, Councillor Conley, Councillor Pearson, Councillor Bernard Johnson, Councillor Ferguson. Accuse yourself. Councillor Vanderbeek, Councillor Parsons, and Councillor Pasuda.
Rose, please.
That is defeated, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
It's defeated.
Standing recorded vote on the main motion.
Standing recorded vote on the main motion. Councillor Collins, you have a seconder on that? Just to go ahead on that one. On the main motion, okay. Yes, on the main motion. Standing recorded vote. All in favor?
I haven't called the vote yet.
So opposed? All in we have all in favor?
No, all
we
those
don't
in
have.
favor.
Okay, because of the noise. Okay. All in favor?
Mayor Eisenberger, Aidan Johnson, Councillor Farr, Councillor Green, Councillor Marula, and Councillor Pearson.
Opposed?
Councillor Suda.
Opposed?
Councillor Collins, Councillor Jackson, Councillor Whitehead, Councillor Dufall, Councillor Conley, Councillor Brenda Johnson, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Vanderbeek, Councillor Partridge, and Councillor Pasuda.
Rose, please.
As defeated, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Collins.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not certain whether I need to, prior to bringing the motion that I had mentioned, whether I need to lift it from the report again, seeing as how we've already lifted it. Is that a requirement at this point in time? It is. Then I would move by myself, seconded by Councillor Ferguson, that information item F2 of the General Issues Committee Report 15002 respecting the discontinuation of the transit-only lane pilot program be lifted from the information section and added as an item to the General Issues Committee Report 15002. So that's the lifting of the report. Seconded by Councillor Ferguson.
Moved by yourself, second by Councillor Ferguson. All in favor?
Carried.
Opposed? Thank you. Councillor Collins?
Yep, and if I could, Mr. Chairman. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Ferguson, and it's a four-part motion. A, that the transit-only lane pilot project be discontinued. B, that staff be directed to make the necessary arrangements to return the transit lane to a fully functional lane for all vehicles. C, that staff be directed to prepare a bylaw to amend bylaw 01-215, being a bylaw to regulate traffic to reflect the changes required in the discontinuation of the transit-only lane along King Street from Mary Street to New Street. And D, that staff be directed to prepare a bylaw to amend bylaws 01-218, being a bylaw to regulate on-street parking to reflect the changes required in the discontinuation of the transit-only lane along King Street from Mary Street to New Street.
Councillor Collins, that's moved by yourself and seconded by Councillor Ferguson. All in favor? Staying recorded. Vote on.
Through you to questions just for staff. I will be brief. If I can talk to David Dixon. The report that this motion, I guess we could say, is a result of. I know Councillor Collins, who has been consistent on his views, brought it forward at the very first Public Works Committee. It was tabled until we received this TOL report. So through you to our new Director of Transit, and just to clear this up so I'm absolutely sure, regardless of it being an information report or it's labeled, I think I read three alternatives in this report. Through you, Deputy Mayor, to David Dixon. Were there not three alternatives in the report?
Mr. Dixon?
Through the Deputy Mayor, that is correct.
And under Alternative 1, which featured A and B, and under Alternative 2, did I not read for both that staff supported those alternatives? Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor?
Through the Deputy Mayor, that is correct.
And on that lengthy debate, if you could précis down to just a few short words, our new director, David Dixon, your true feelings with your decades of experience as to how and why this TOL, I mean, you said things like it should be expanded, that you said that we could fix it and make it work. You said many things that were pro-TOL in the debate, the lengthy debate, of which I do not want to get back into. But even your comments have been questioned by some, whether it be in the community or in the media. Definitively, is it good for our city to continue to make it work, to fix it? Or scrapping it here tonight is technically a good idea. I'd like to hear one more time for the record, and in general, but specifically, but précis down for everybody, please, from the Director of Transportation through you, Deputy Mayor. And I have no comment. I'll listen to the answer. Thank you.
Mr. Dixon?
Through the Deputy Mayor, this lane is good for transit.
Order, please. Thank you, Councillor Farr. Mayor Eisenberger?
Sure, I'm not going to belabor this. I know where this is going to end up, but I want to be clear that we understand how this is going to be affected. So maybe through you to Jerry Davis, based on kind of the recommendation that's before us right now, it says stop the bus lane. How are we going to put that into effect, and when can we put that into effect if this motion passes?
Mr. Davis?
So through the chair, we would, upon approval by council, the necessary bylaw would have to be passed to take it out of the existing bylaw. We could immediately remove the signs. We could scrub the road just where we have the transit lane only. And in the spring, when it's possible, we would repaint all the lanes from Mary Street to the end for the entire length of the bus lane.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Eisenberger. Councillor Matthew Green, please.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, through you to the members of council, I'd like to test the will of council, and for those that might be undecided on this motion, to consider that there was, or the potential for seeing this in a future motion, including the transit master plan. And so I'd like to ask that if you're on the bubble on this and you want to see this with a full study, to consider voting this down in favor of a future motion that would include the transit master plan.
Thank you, Councillor Green. Councillor Pearson.
Well, Mr. Deputy Mayor, thank you, and I appreciate Councillor Green raising that point. Can I ask through you to the clerk, the decision tonight, if we do vote this down, and I know that if it comes back in the future, what is the process as far as bringing it back if it comes to the table as a similar process? It's the issue of our process of 2/3 vote, etc. So I want clarification from the clerk, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Rose.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, through you, if council would want to reconsider, would have to reconsider this decision, and that would be for in favor of the decision of council. You would require 2/3 vote, and to move it would be one that was in favor of the decision.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. If I could just comment, and I know where this is going also, and I didn't comment earlier, but I did at the meeting. I didn't want, as Councillor Johnson raised, and I said it today at the meeting, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think there were ways that we could tweak this. I think there was possibilities of making improvements. It may have been not even a totally dedicated bus lane. It could have been timelines, etc. I really think we should have given it some more opportunity. Yes, I drive a car, and Mr. Deputy Mayor has been commented about councillors that, we aren't transit literate, and believe me, I took a bus for 2 years coming into this city as a councillor, and I've taken the bus growing up and working in downtown Hamilton for many years. I know what the transit issues are. It's not just a matter of speed through the city, it's consistency of timing of the buses and for pickup of passengers along the route. So I know the importance of that. I know where this is going, and I just want to be sure that this is not in any way a connotation to where the LRT debate will go, because this has nothing to do with LRT at this point. This is the bus-only lane. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pearson. Councillor Van Der Beek.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I have a couple of things to say. In the earlier GIC meeting, we debated a motion to defer it until after we heard the the 10-year transportation strategy. And my preference was to do that, but that vote failed. And the way I see it, based on, and thank you very much, by the way, to everyone who emailed me, based on all of the emails I got, both for and against, based on the conversations I've had, in particular in the last few days, I gave every email and every phone message my serious thought and deliberation about this issue. And for me, this issue isn't about one bus lane. It's about the vision for this city. And the vision for this city, I really believe, is shared among the council, the entire council. You know, everybody wants the city to be prosperous. And we all know that the only way for the city to work efficiently is if we focus on an excellent transit system. And during the election, part of my platform was about a well-functioning, support for a well-functioning transit system that works for everybody. And everybody is the transit rider, the cyclist, the pedestrian, and the vehicle driver, the person who has to deliver goods across the bus lane, the person who tries to walk across the bus lane in the street, everybody. And right now, we don't have that. But what we do have is an excellent staff of professionals who are prepared to come to us with a 10-year strategy plan and an opportunity to figure out where we really need the bus lanes. And I don't think, in my discussions with people, that this particular bus lane is ideal. There's problems with it right from the outset. And I don't think it's in the ideal location. I think it's problematic. We can't expand it to the east without spending a lot of money. And if we could even do it then. And, you know, really, from my personal point of view, maybe the place to have tried out the bus lane might have been Main Street. But we didn't do that. We didn't do that. We tried it on King. And now we have a fair amount of information about what does and what doesn't work and what we need to look at moving forward. So I have great difficulty voting for the previous motion about tweaking it at a cost that's almost equal to removing it, and then discovering, you know, in another 6 months that the tweak didn't work, and now we want to either remove it or tweak it again. Don't you think that it would be, don't you think, well, I think, I'll reword that, I think it would be better to remove it right now. I'm very respectful of the people who sent information to me to consider, and I'm just laying out my consideration. I think it would be better to remove what is there now and look at this plan that's coming on the 6th of February and really decide where, when, and how we want to use bus lanes so that we have optimal transit in this city. And going forward, we're not always trying to catch up. Let's put the horse back in front of the cart. I think that this happened, and it put the cart in front of the horse, and the horse is pushing it.
Nonsense.
All right. I am expressing the reasons why I feel that in order for Hamilton to have the transit system that we need to do some planning and work our vision and have a lot of public engagement.
Here we are.
That's why
Can we show some respect or I'll call a recess? Okay? Please? Sorry, the public was trying to get Arlene?
we need a clear vision of where we want the city to go, a transit plan that builds on that plan, a timeline that works for the entire city, and a financial plan of how we can afford not only to build it but to sustain it. It's much bigger than a 14-block bus lane, and I think we need to get started on that instead of spending a lot of time arguing about whether that particular bus line stays or goes. It was an assessment, we've assessed it. Now let's use that information and do what's right for this city and build our city and our transit system that works. Thank you.
All right. Well done.
Thanks, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Just dovetailing on Councillor Van de Beek's comments, I'd like to ask a question through to Director David Dixon of our HSR. Before I do, David, last year the Council overwhelmingly supported enhancements to conventional transit with the A road, the B line, mountain roads of Stone Church and Rymal to enhance service. We recently are purchasing a few dozen more cleaner, hybrid, environmentally friendly buses. Paratransit, DARTS system in our community for the disabled is incredibly important. So, and we have some great programs, Mr. Deputy Mayor, like the Golden Age Pass, where seniors 80 and over can ride for free all year, anywhere they want in our city with public transit. So, Mr. Deputy Mayor, through to Director Dixon, you're coming back in a couple of weeks. With or without the TOL, the current transit-only lane, with or without it, are you coming back to report to this committee during this budget session of 2015 regarding how we can enhance conventional and paratransit system in Hamilton? Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, please, to David.
Mr. Dixon, please. Through the Deputy Mayor, we are coming back responding to a council motion on a 10-year strategy to enhance local transit, complete with a financial plan.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, past councils, including with the fares, student passes, that we've worked out programs with our University McMaster, Mohawk College and others, and with the seniors as well, and regular users of transit. I'm going to be definitely open-minded in terms of if Mr. Dixon's coming forward asking for enhancements to our current system to build a case for the future. Thank you very much, Mr. Dixon. Thanks, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Marula?
Just quickly, I think I need to rehash, because I heard a couple of comments about the fact that this has nothing to do with the LRT. It has everything to do with the LRT. Just otherwise is really nonsensical. It was born for that purpose to illustrate the impact, and we were supposed to expand it accordingly. So let's not kid ourselves. I believe the money that was earmarked for Hamilton will end up in Mississauga because we're imploding here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marula. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to drill down a little further with the clerk on the 60% rule and having to need 60% to rescind. If things change, this is not an LRT debate tonight. It's about the pilot for the transit lane where we wanted to capture data to understand the impact of taking a lane down. And when I saw Mr. Dixon's report, it is loaded with data. And so I think we've achieved what we set out to do. But through you to the clerk, Rose, you know, I've always been a supporter of LRT, providing it 100% funding with the province. If the province came along and said, we're going to give you 100% funding for capital, and we decided we wanted to put the transit route back, but make it a lot longer, which I'm hearing some members of council would like to do, so it would be different. Would that still require a 60% majority?
Rose?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, yeah. Anything that would go, that would be different from what council would pass would require a 2/3.
So if we're extending it and got the funding confirmed from the province for 100% capital, is that considered different enough?
I would say so, yes, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Okay. I don't think we're driving the final nail on this thing. It all turns on what the province is going to tell us. And this is not an LRT debate tonight. This is about shutting down a pilot project that was used to capture data. And if the funding did come along, and I don't like the fear-mongering that's going on in that funding, but if the funding did come along, and of course the province has been sending us good messages, but I hear Mr. Dixon say that, well, you need 2,000 riders per hour at peak time in the main direction in order to get advanced level transit. So we're going to have to see where the staff of Metrolinx come down on this, because they'll have a big influence. As our staff has an influence on us, they have a big influence, I think, on the province. So we need to gather all that additional information. And even if we got full funding now shortly, it's going to be years to get this thing underway. You know, all the land that has to be acquired, the utilities that have to be relocated, all the traffic mapping that have to be done. So I think we've accomplished what we wanted to do in the pilot. Let's see what the province says. And I fully agree with the mayor saying, don't go with the citizens panel. Do we know what the funding is? This is what it's all about. And so let's sit back, turn to the province. Okay, now what are you going to do? And then we can make the right decision going forward. And the clerk's just confirmed that if all these things change, we wouldn't need a 2/3 majority anymore. It would be a simple majority. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. Mayor Eisenberger, could you take the chair for a moment, please?
Certainly could. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I've got emails like everybody else has. I've got from citizens of downtown, citizens from the mountain, from my ward. Lots for it, everybody. Basically everybody for it. Few against it. I have residents in my ward who have businesses downtown who have issues with the transit-only lane. You know, when you look at this, and I think there's a bigger picture of this. We have done what we have done with this pilot. We've learned some things from it, good and bad. I go out to the east end, or to the west end every day, and I come in from the west end. Some days it is congested, other days it's not. I noticed CHTV was out there this afternoon when I had to go to Waterdown for a meeting about 5 to 12, and they were there, and it wasn't very much traffic on King Street at all. There's some buses. I think there's a bigger picture here, and we have to look at the bigger picture. We've learned some issues from this one. We have Mr. Dixon here, who is excellent at his job. We have to keep him, hang on to this for a long time, Mr. Dixon, because you know what you're doing. I appreciate that. We have to consider GO is coming. We have to see the bigger picture and have transit for GO. And we have to bring this all together and have transit lanes. And it's important that everybody has transit lanes, okay? That's what the future is here. Interesting article, and Bay Observer had an article in it. And as we're debating and talking about the bus lane, nobody mentioned the yield signs in the back of the bus on the left-hand corner. Under the Highway Traffic Act, you're supposed to yield to the bus when it's coming on, changing lanes, when the signal's on. Mayor Stowe, if you pay attention, a lot of traffic does not yield to the bus. Article today in The Spectator was about policing and tickets. There's an opportunity to do policing right in town, along where the buses are. Our buses need that yield sign that's on the left-hand corner of that bus. It needs to be very reflective, a little bit bigger. A lot of them are worn off. Get those repaired. Get them put in place. Make it bigger. Take a little bit of the advertising off the back and put a sign down there, yield to buses. I understand transit. As I said, I was born and raised just down the road here in St. Joe's. I have family in Hamilton. Our kids have houses here. I have aunts and uncles here. I have cousins. They use transit. Let's get the big picture here. Let's get it right. Let's put in the transit, the shelters for people to be underneath when it's snowing and raining and cold. And we'll learn from what we've done down here. And I'm supportive of transit. Just the way this is done, I'm not. But one thing we got to work on, and I'm hoping Public Works we can do something or get a message tonight, get those yield signs fixed up, get them bigger, let them make a point. Mr. Mayor? Can you take it back?
Thank you. I have no additional speakers, so it's back to you.
Okay. One thing, I must say though, one thing that's very enlightening, in fact, I'm hearing a lot of people say from the suburbs, my college, that they support public transit. Hence, when the time comes to eliminate area rating accordingly, I look forward to your support.
Calling the question. All in favor? Stand in the court vote.
Councillor Collins, Councillor Jackson, Councillor Duval, Councillor Whitehead, Councillor Connolly, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Vanderbeek, Councillor Partridge, Councillor Pasuta.
Opposed?
Councillor Pearson, and Councillor Brenda Johnson.
Motion carries, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Rose. So, on item 5, we need to have the project received. Rose?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, that would be part of the motion. That would be the A part received and then what we just voted on.
You got one guy with a conflict of interest. Why is he voting?
Mark, I'd like to thank everybody that came here tonight, the citizens of the city of Hamilton.
Best place in Canada to engage citizens. Maybe after third better, Arlene. Thanks for not. Maybe after third better. All right. Good job. Eisenberg, stood. All right.
Sean, please, quietly, please. Thank you very much. Okay. Item 5. Item 6. Mayor Eisenberg, I have a motion to approve the GHC report 15-002.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Partridge, that item GI of the General Issues Committee Report 15002, being a motion referred to the January 14th, 2015 General Issues Committee meeting at December 17th, respecting the transit-only lane project, be lifted from the information section. That is a. Does anybody have a cab number?
Yeah, there's a two of them. So does it have Mr. Ferguson's cab number like visible so you can like it does? Thank you very much. I'm just curious why you got to vote. Thanks.
That's a previous motion that I want to lift from the table and withdraw, Mr. Chairman.
Council members, and you're moving that, seconded by Councillor Partridge.
Partridge, to withdraw.
On the withdraw of that. All in favor?
Carried. Thank you.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Partridge, that the second report of the General Issues Committee be adopted and the information section received.
All in favor?
Carried.
The Audit, Finance, Administration Committee presents report 14-009, respectively recommends item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, item 5, item 6, item 7, item 8, item 9, item 10, item 11. Councilor Whitehead, wish to go back?
On 11, have we dealt with 11? I just want to thank Shaker for all the due diligence and the work he does. He's a citizen; he doesn't get paid, and you know he keeps our feet to the fire in regards to the financing and reporting. So I just want to thank him personally. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Whitehead. Item 11, item 12, item 13, item 14, item 15. Councilor Pearson, may I have a motion to approve the AFNA report 15-001 as presented?
Yes, you can, Mr. Deputy Mayor. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Aidan Johnson, that the first report of Audit, Finance and Administration Committee be adopted and the information section received.
All in favor? Thank you. Emergency Community Services Committee presents report 14-001, respectively recommends item 1, item 2. Councillor Whitehead, may I have a motion to approve E and CS report 15- Councillor Ferguson, yes?
Through you, I was reading the report that Mrs. Priel gave on the new software system that's giving all our employees indigestion and putting through a lot of unnecessary stress. And we passed a resolution, Mr. Chairman, asking the province to put the old system back in place until they got this thing fixed. Through you to Joanne, I couldn't pick up on that when what was reported in the minutes. Have that contact been made, and what was their response if it has been made?
Joanne, could you hear Councillor Ferguson?
Through Mr. Deputy Mayor, as far as I know, the letter went to the province. I don't know whether there was any formal response back from the province. I haven't seen it. I've been told verbally through my connections that no, that cannot happen.
And it can't happen because well, I'll let you explain why it can't happen.
We've gone way too far in terms of implementing this system. They've turned off the tap to the old system some time ago in November. No new data has been input into that system, and they've had to get new licenses to renew it. The software is out of date, outmoded, can't service anymore, and that's the rationale I was provided with.
Since our last council meeting, has it gotten any better?
Through you, Mr.
Talking
Deputy.
software, I know our staff are putting incredible effort into this, and you're bringing extra staff in, but has the software got any better?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, there's been some changes and improvements made by the province. I would say that we're not experiencing those improvements yet. As I explained the other day at committee, we're probably into a 12 to an 18-month recovery. We currently have 64 people from other places in the Ontario Works Division that are helping us do our work in the case management area. Those people likely won't be back to their desks until sometime after the end of March, at which point in time those are people like our fraud or overpayment people that haven't used this system yet. So we don't know what kind of issues they're going to run into when they return to their desks. We're going to have to train them. So like I said, we're into a 12 to 18-month recovery.
And it was reported to us at the last meeting, I know you weren't here, Jack reported that one of the main problems is to go through the system and process an application. It used to take 2 clicks, now it takes 20 clicks. Has that been fixed?
Through Mr. Deputy Mayor, no, it hasn't been. This is why our staff have continued to do manual applications. So that what they do is the client will sit at their desk, they'll take down all the information. When the client leaves is when they'll input the data, because they don't want the client to sit there while they're fumbling through the system and while it's taking so long. So we're going to have a gradual return of people back to doing applications online, and we're not sure how that is going to change how we deal with the people that we serve, but we're pretty sure it's going to change the way we deal with people.
Okay, and last question is, what else can council do to help?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, we've put into place a pretty substantial recovery plan, and I'm hesitant to share too much because I haven't told my frontline staff yet, and so I have to tell them what that plan is in fairness to them. I would say that the support that we got at committee the other day and from the mayor, to know that you're in their corner, that you believe what we're saying to you in terms of it's the system and that it's not us. They know that you have their backs and their support and your sympathy. So I think that's gone a long way. And my latest email, which will go out tomorrow to all staff, it's going to reiterate what I heard at our committee the other day in terms of the continued and strong support for our frontline staff, and that there's certainly nobody's blaming us for not giving it our best shot. So they know that they're supported by council. The issue is, I think, where council can wade in, we're now going to start daily tracking of expenditures that this is costing us in terms of everything. We're going to backdate that, so when it comes time to pressing the province for the funding to recoup our losses in this venture is when we'll need strong council support.
Well, thank you for that update, and because we're certainly not blaming them. In fact, we feel bad for them that they're going through all this extra effort. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I have Councillor Partridge and then Councillor Whitehead. Councillor Partridge?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and I appreciate the previous speaker asking those questions. I'm on Emergency and Community Services, and that was one of the line of questioning that I asked Joanne, and I was going to ask her to give an update, but she has done that. But the one point that I think you mentioned at Emergency and Community Services the other day, Joanne, we talked about the morale of our staff. We're all very, very concerned about that, and I want them to hear that Council is concerned about everything that they've had to deal with and how unfair we believe it is. But at the meeting, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, we talked about cost recovery, and you mentioned just now about tracking expenses, but I thought there was a figure that you had given up to a limit of $300,000 or something that had been received for the province. Could you just expand on that, please?
Joanne?
To you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, over the past year, we've received in 3 different sums a total amount of $366,000. that money was given to us before we really knew what kind of issues that we were facing. So that funding, in my opinion, no way covers the extra costs that we are incurring with the issues that we've found in terms of the implementation. So it's $366,000 to this point. That certainly wouldn't cover the costs that we're experiencing, nor will it cover the costs in terms of lost revenues. Even though most of those lost revenues are going to be on the province's side, they're nonetheless lost revenues for the taxpayer.
Yes, and thank you very much, because that was the concerns that we had, again, was in the tracking the costs, that even though that money was available and put there by the province, it's not going to cover the costs. I mean, what our employees are going through, what our staff are going through with this whole system change, it's really been unconscionable for the province to just dump it down on and expect our staff to be able to deal with that. So I thank you for that update, and look forward to you coming back to Council when you're ready. I know that you're doing your due diligence on that. And as Councillor Ferguson said, just let us know how we can help. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Partridge. Councillor Whitehead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thank Councillor Ferguson and Councillor Partridge for raising the issue. Actually, at agenda review, it wasn't on the agenda, and I had asked Joanne to we put it on the agenda for the update, so we have a clear running understanding and idea what is transpiring in that division. What I need to say, because I don't think I caught it, is we did have 2 people from the province come in, and it's pretty clear that their reflection of what's taking place here is not our front-end workers that are causing the challenge. It is the software. So that's their own people now experiencing it here, seeing what's taking place, and has a clear understanding that it has nothing to do with the quality of staff that we have or the work they do. And I want to again express my thank you and gratitude to each and every one of those frontline workers. And I want to thank a lot of those individuals that unfortunately are being victimized by this poor system. We have so many services, Council, that are not being provided today. Whether it's our employment type services, those staff are helping with the computer system. Whether it's, Joanne, could you just name some of these services that are currently not being provided as a result of backfilling to help with the SAM system?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, so you've named Councillor Whitehead our employment services. There's 31 people we've pulled from employment to help the case managers with their daily functions. We've pulled people, I'm not going to go through it all, family support, 7 workers. Those are people that work with families to get the necessary spousal support through the courts. We've lent somebody from recreation, home management services, so everybody is being affected by this. To one extent or another in terms of Ontario Works.
Thank you. And I just want to illustrate, it's not just the cost, but there is contact with people that need employment assistance and etc. that are not getting the service because these staff are not available because they're helping with the SAMs. So this impact was much broader than just the people receiving the checks every day. And I want to thank the patience of those individuals. We have people that get post-dated checks for rent. For example, the check doesn't arrive, they get an NSF. Who pays for that? So one of the things we asked at the committee is to ensure that from a values and principle point of view, it's no fault of that person on social services that they got an NSF check, and that we should be taking on that obligation and certainly going after the province. And I believe I've asked staff to look at that, apply that principle, and if they have to, come back for the appropriate approvals by committee and council. So I just want to highlight those areas because they do concern me, and I know that we have great staff that are very caring and will continue staying on top of the job. And with no further ado, I will move, Mr. Chair, the first report of the Emergency Community Services Committee be adopted and the information section received, and seconded by Councillor DeVelle.
All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been a pleasure.
Sure it is, yeah. Great fun, thank you. And So we're on to motions, ladies and gentlemen, and I have motion 7.2. Councillor Farr, will you present your motion as item 7.2?
Yeah, it's before everyone. It's with respect to the Junos that the City of Hamilton hereby deems the 44th Annual Juno Awards being held in the city March 13th, 2015 to March 15th, 2015 inclusive as municipally significant, and B, that the following applicants be provided a copy of this resolution for inclusion with their application to the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, primarily downtown restaurants and bars that have associated themselves with the planning of this event. There's lots of after-hours events that take place with industry people, and these folks have worked with Tim Podesic and our Juno committee in applying for an extension of their licenses for this two-day event. It should be a great time and extravaganza. It's not unprecedented, in my understanding, here in the City of Hamilton where we've done this. I think we did it for the CMA not too long ago for major events that does occur from time to time. And I'll just notify my colleagues that there is one that's omitted here that I'll bring forward prior to the Junos, probably in the first GIC of February, who didn't get to make this list, but I'll bring that forward separately. So it's pending, and this is moved by myself, Mr. Mayor, and seconded by Councillor Matt Green. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and I apologize. I missed one step. I should go to Councillor Collins for a motion to rise and report, so let's do that. I missed that. I apologize. Councillor Collins?
Yes, sir. I will move that we rise and report, seconded by Councillor Marula.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Back to you, Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Marula was my seconder. No offense to Mr. Green. It's already signed on the goldenrod. It makes it easier. Thank you.
There you go. Okay, moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing not. All in favor? Carried. Item 7.3. Councillor Collins, you have a motion on item 7.3.
And it's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Marula. Everyone has it in front of them. I will not read the whereases, but it's the funding issue for Boris Broad, and to be fair, this is from staff, so I'm moving it on behalf of those in the Finance Department.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Councillor Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just a question through you to staff. Will this be standard reporting as we just did at last AFNA, where we report on the boards and agencies and the funding that we're giving in the interim until the budget's approved? So we don't have to do this again?
Mr. Segarra?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, this issue relates to the need for this organization to receive their cash at an earlier date than upon approval of the budget. The boards and agencies will be presenting to committee at the end of this month, January, and pending council's decision with respect to the funding to boards and agencies. Again, the issue is this organization can't wait till the decision of council and the approval of the budget. They require some funding in installments prior to that date.
Thank you, and I understand that, but we approved it Audit and Finance, where we give the art gallery gets an upfront payment, and some of the other agencies. So could this agency not also be addressed the same way?
So through the mayor, just for some clarification, as 2015 represents a change for this organization, so I'll just remind council that this organization previously fell under boards and agencies and now falls under the City Enrichment Fund, and therefore that is the reason behind the motion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ferguson?
Councillor Pearson asked the main question, but there's no enhancement to the funding. This is just bringing out an advance payment in order to keep them going through the cold winter months.
Through the mayor, that is correct, and I'll just remind council again, this organization would have received this treatment in previous years when it fell under boards and agencies.
Yeah, I was just wondering why there wasn't an omnibus motion for all of them, but I think you answered that. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. So it's moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried. Item 7.4. Councillor Jackson, you have a motion to present on that item.
Mr. Mayor, I do. Moved by myself, and you asked to second it. This is regarding the recommended water, wastewater, and stormwater budget. Several pages are there in front of my council colleagues. This emanated from the rates budget discussion over the last week, primarily presented by Director Dan McKinnon and General Manager Mike Segarra of Finance. And this is basically recommending tonight, Mr. Mayor, a 4.2% overall increase on the rates water budget. And again, Mr. Mayor, even though this is an above average increase of inflation, I'm very proud to say that since amalgamation, since we set up the rates budget, so much has been done, and it's all documented, evidentiary, on graphs, slide presentations that we can all use at future town hall meetings if necessary. I'm very proud to say that this additional money that's been raised over and above the rate of inflation has been put aside in a water rates reserve fund that has led to the improvements at the Woodward Avenue treatment plant for water wastewater, helped to improve the quality of our excellent drinking water, been part of the Randall Reef cleanup overall, helped to modernize and replace old pipes, 50 and 60-year-old in some cases, across our city, where modernization and improvements to the existing infrastructure have to take place. Put in place preventative plumbing programs like the backwater valve that many of our residents, whether they were unfortunately flood victims or not, have taken advantage of, saying thank you so often to the municipality for putting this $1,500 to $2,000 grant forward that they can tap into. So, Mr. Mayor, as we're continuing to address issues to prevent, God forbid, future flooding in our community, upgrading and modernizing our infrastructure, our Woodward Avenue treatment plant, this is all part of that plan that is continuously moving forward, not swallowed up in the general levy, but being put aside towards these type of programs and projects involving Hamilton Water. So I strongly support it, and with your seconding. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Hearing not, all in favor? Carried. Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you. That was unanimous. On item 7.5, Councillor Marula, you have a motion on.
It's moved by myself and. Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And it's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Duvall that the facility naming subcommittee be requested to consider renaming the Crown Point Park, the Honourable Bob McKenzie Park, to honour the long-serving member of Provincial Parliament and Minister of Labour in Hamilton East.
Okay, thank you. You have the motion before you. Any comments or questions? Hearing not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Collins, you have a motion on suspension of enforcement for, no, that's, we've dealt with that, haven't we? So you have to lift it and withdraw, I think. Councillor?
I'm doing just that, seconded by Councillor Jackson.
Very good. All in favor? Carried. Item 7.7, illegal dumping project, pilot project. Councillor Marula.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and it's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Collins, Jackson. Whereas the City of Hamilton, I have to take that, sorry, my apologies, I spoke to Councillor Jackson about this earlier.
I'm not offended.
Whereas the City of Hamilton has experienced a shift of illegal dumping across the city from public and private property to that of parklands and other public areas, and whereas municipal law enforcement established a pilot project in 2012 to enforce this illegal dumping, and whereas enforcement officers have been using video surveillance to identify and charge offenders in council identified hotspots, therefore be it resolved that that the City of Hamilton Municipal Law Enforcement Division continue to enforce illegal dumping for the duration of the pilot project and research the feasibility of permanent video surveillance being established in identified hotspots. B, that the use of mobile video surveillance technology be continued to identify offenders and charge. And C, that staff continue to work with other departments to coordinate enforcement efforts. And briefly, Mr. Mayor, as you're well aware, this has been an ongoing problem for years. It has peaked to some degree over the last 5 to 10 years. I think primarily there are many variables that contributed to it. There are two types really of dumping. You have the household garbage, which I think peaked just subsequent to our waste management decision with the bag limits. That has to some degree been mitigated. However, there is a tendency out there, particularly surrounding the private sector and those that are taking it upon themselves to dump wires and other construction material on parkland and or natural areas. The catalyst to this motion was the Windermere Basin example Whereas, you know, we've spent millions of dollars in partnership with not only the province, but that of the federal government to clean that Wind River Basin. It's a beautiful naturalized area that is accessed by bird watchers and dog walkers, and access to the pedestrian bridge as well as the waterfront on the east end. And it's clearly an issue that has surfaced, and one that we need to try to aggressively pursue and enhance the enforcement through this video surveillance. Firstly, to try to deter those that might be considering to do it, and secondly, to monitor and actually apprehend those that are doing it. So I think along the lines of the red light cameras, I think a system or a model where we can have certain cameras sporadically located throughout the hotspots in the city, but not necessarily the camera, but give the impression that those cameras exist, as we do with the red light cameras. I think something along those lines would work well. We all know how successful it's been in administering the red light cameras, so I believe there would be a direct correlation in a positive way to not only increase the awareness of this type of behavior not being accepted, but also enforcing it accordingly. And I look forward to the support and staff's positive response, who I've consulted with accordingly on this particular motion, and I appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jackson.
So, Mr. Mayor, I can't thank Councillor Marula enough for this motion. He's been at the forefront last term of council and continuing into this new term regarding the illegal dumping pilot project that I think overwhelmingly the last term of council said was incredibly important. You know, sadly, Mr. Mayor, we have some rogues, we have some renegades in our community that don't care at all about the beautification, the prestige areas of our community, the areas that families enjoy and want to have healthy, natural times together, recreationally, socially, and otherwise. And I still have, from time to time, a problem along the East Mountain Rail Trail, the Albion Falls area, the Buttermilk Falls area, where people just take it upon themselves irresponsibly, carelessly, disgustingly, to just want to litter and to dump illegally. And so any additional tools we can provide our staff, like the use possibly of this mobile video surveillance technology, and of course staff will report back on exactly how to go about implementing this, what the overall cost would be, but we're making some advancements. The whole key here is to change behavior, is to educate. And the Keep Hamilton Clean and Green Committee, of which Councillor Collins and I sit on at your pleasure, along with 10 fine citizens and city staff, they're also making their efforts to help with cleanup efforts across our city, particularly in certain months like the month of April. So, Mr. Mayor, I see this as an additional tool, and in fact, the more the municipality does to show leadership and say that it's abhorrent that illegal dumping occurs in our city, especially in some of our most beautiful parks and natural areas, I think the law-abiding citizens, the honest citizens of our community, they would applaud the municipality because so many of them are volunteers in helping with cleanup efforts. But for them, it's nice to know the municipality is at the forefront showing leadership. And Mr. Mayor, this motion here tonight continues the momentum of attacking and arresting and hopefully eventually eliminating illegal dumping in our community. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any other further comments? Hearing not, all in favor? Carried. Any opposed? Another unanimous decision by council. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Whitehead, notice of motion on tobogganing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a notice of motion, whereas tobogganing is considered a Canadian recreational activity, whereas the legal precedence has been established by the courts on tobogganing litigation, whereas the City of Hamilton banned tobogganing on city property by bylaw and still remain liable, resulting in a large damaged award, whereas municipalities within the province of Ontario will have banned, restricted and closed hills to tobogganing through bylaw and posted notices. It remains unclear if the restrictions and hill closures mitigate a municipality from legal proceedings. Now therefore be it resolved that the manager of risk management coordinate together with the city solicitor, staff of the Public Works Department, or other affected departments, a review of the options available to the city in respect of tobogganing on the city property, including the feasibility of the City of Hamilton designating tobogganing areas within the community and report back to the General Issues Committee. That's a notice of motion.
Okay, thank you. So that will be on a future council agenda, and we are now at statements of by members. And if I could make a brief. Sorry. No, it's not quite yet. Yeah, it is actually an in-camera item that we deal with at the end, and we will get to it. If I could just take a brief moment to indicate some highlights from this chair, and then I will turn it over to members of council. The first item of business for me, and I know that our city has been working and has been actively engaged in an open for business review, and I know it's come up during the election process, certainly has come up through some discussions I've had at various parts of our community, at Rotary clubs and chambers of commerce, and they're anxious to hear about the resolve and the result of that report. Anxiously being awaited, and we truly all want to be open for business, so I'm delighted that review is, I think, nearing completion. But maybe if I could, to our city manager, ask Chris, when do we expect to have that report?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this quarter. We do have a draft that I'll be taking up with Jason and Jerry and Mike Zagaric and many of the directors and other staff. So that work is, as you say, it's been completed. I want to point out as well the senior management team and discussions that we've had last year. We are going to be focused on the very things that are in our strategic plan, and one of the areas that we are going to focus is going to be on growth and development. You are absolutely right. There is an economic wave that is occurring here in the city, and we want to make dead certain that our development process is going to be absolutely first rate to take advantage of all those opportunities. So, I mean, we hear from time to time concerns about our ability to make achieve effective timelines in terms of approval, and that is really what the work of Ian Neville and his team, working with many of us, has focused on. So we have to make improvements. We know now there are many things, though, Mr. Mayor, I want to say that our staff do incredibly well. So I wouldn't want to for a second suggest to you or any of our staff in this community that there isn't great success in the way in which we do manage things as they relate to development. But we always know there's areas for improvement, and that's what we're going to focus on.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure we're all looking forward to that report, and it can't happen soon enough, but I think I'm anticipating that it's going to be a solid review that will really recommend some changes that we can make in our process to make sure that we have as tight and as predictable and as efficient a process as we can possibly have. Was somebody tinkling the glass here? No? Hearing not. Let me also congratulate our city manager. I was at the City Spirit Awards held last Friday over at the Art Gallery, and it really was an effort to celebrate and award outstanding achievements and employee achievements in the city of Hamilton. It was a fabulous event. Lots of great stories about service above and beyond that our employees are doing each and every day, and of course we single out some nominees that were getting special recognition, and of course there were winners, but all the people in the room, including senior staff, and I encourage you to participate in this next year, because it really is an outstanding opportunity to kind of understand and appreciate the kind of quality employees we have and the kind of high-level work that they're doing there. Not only the day-to-day work, but over and above, projects over and above what they have to do day to day. It really was quite spectacular. So I thank the city manager for doing that. It was a great event, and congratulate all the nominees and award winners. It really speaks to, I think, the great staff that we have and the great work that they do. Equally, I was pleased to be at the signing ceremony for the Fraunhofer-McMaster partnership, and I'll kind of not take any credit, but certainly give credit to this council, previous council, and that actually approved that partnership. It was a great opportunity again to talk about the future biomedical advanced manufacturing research. Aidan Johnson and I think Councillor Farr and others were there to congratulate both the Fraunhofer Institute and McMaster it really speaks to, again, great opportunities for us to really reach out into future research that can lead to good products that can be made right here in Hamilton. So congratulations to the previous council. I mean, I know it was a tough decision, and I think you made it with some forward vision, and I think that vision will be realized before too long. And we should also thank our good staff, Carolyn Reed, Neil Everson, and Michael Kovacevic in the legal department were very, very instrumental in making sure that the agreements were tight and everyone had their appropriate recognition done, and it all came together very nicely. So I want to congratulate them all for that. So it's going to be soon up and running. And lastly, my former grade school, I had the glorious opportunity to go and visit St. Eugene's Elementary School that I attended, I dare say, 50 years ago. Hasn't changed a heck of a whole lot, but the grade 5 group there was fantastic. And I just want to acknowledge the great work of Ms. Carol Fernandez and her grade 5 class. They were simply energetic, impressive, enthusiastic. It made me want to go back to grade school, actually. It was fantastic. So I just want to acknowledge St. Eugene's and the great work they're doing here. And specifically the teacher, Carol Fernandez. I can understand why the kids were so enthusiastic and aware that she's that and then some. So good for her and good for St. Eugene's. That is my total and complete report. I thank you for all of that work. And I am going to go to Councillor Connolly, and we're going to work around the room this way. Councillor Connolly, items of interest.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank staff for all the information that they've given us for the Red Hill Expressway bypass. That it's a very complicated situation in some ways, especially for the people in Ward 9 to get around during it. And they're doing a great job. We had a update meeting today with Councillor Johnson and Councillor Jackson. And the other project that's going ahead that I want to thank them for, just for keeping me up to date and everything that's going on, is the King Street expansion from basically 20 Highway right through the town of Stony Creek. They're doing an excellent job, and I really appreciate the effort that they're taking to make sure that I'm informed on what's going on and the rest of the councillors. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll pass this evening.
Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Let me ask Councillor Connolly just to turn your microphone off there. Thank you.
It's Ward 11, so there's always lots to go around. So on Wednesday, February the 4th, Mount Hope Case United Church is having their Soup Fest from 11 to 1:30. And on February the 14th, the Celebration of Rural Excellence Banquet is going to happen at the Ancaster Fairgrounds. And they're doing it a little differently this year. They're going to do the Farm Family of the Year, Rural Citizen of the Year, and now we have a brand new Rural Youth of Excellence. So that's going to be on February the 14th. And if you need any more information on either of those, just go to my website and you'll get all those details. Every Monday, there's active seniors exercise, and every Friday it's Gentle Fit, and both are at the Bimbrook United Church, and it's sponsored by the Glenbrook Home Support. I just want to give a shout out to the Glendale Golf and Curling Club Women's Junior Curling Team, who have won the Ontario Championships and leave tomorrow morning for Newfoundland to go to the Canadians. So all the best. That was my former hangout spot for being a curler. And on a personal note, I just want to thank everybody for their donations to McNally House in memory of Mom. On behalf of my dad, my 3 brothers, and myself, the Neville and Johnson's families, the overwhelming support that I have and my families have had in this past 2 weeks has been unbelievable. Losing your mom really sucks. But having the love and support surround you just makes the pain a little bit better. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you for that. Councillor Ferguson.
Boy, that's tough to follow.
Yep.
And my condolences to Brenda and her family on the loss of their mom. I know I went through it, and it's not easy. Just one thing, the Ancaster Community Council is going to be starting up again, and to those watching at home, We'll be advertising shortly for all the different boards who appoint people to the community council, and then there's also 5 members at large. So we'll be running an ad in Ancaster News, a little shout out for Ancaster News, for people to apply. So if you're interested, watch for it and get the application in, and hopefully we can get you on. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Vanderbeek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things. The Dundas Community Council application deadline was last Thursday, and we've had an enormous number of applications for the 5 positions at large, which is fabulous. So the decisions will be being made and announcements will be made and people will be contacted in the next couple of weeks. And I'm hoping we can have our first meeting in February, but it may be March. Dundas Little Theatre is currently running It's About the Play, onwards. And Dundas Community Services had their fundraiser last Thursday at the Dundas Little Theatre for the play, and it's a great play, and it runs for this weekend and next weekend, I believe. And the Dundas Museum, if you happen to be into tasting scotch, is running a Robbie Burns night called Toasting the Bard tomorrow evening. 7 o'clock to 9:30. So if you're interested, call the museum. I'm sure they can make room for you. That's it. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you. Councillor Pizzuta.
Thank you, Mayor Eisenberger. First of all, just a few things here. January the 6th, I attended along with Councillor Susan Fielding from Pushlands. We went to Toronto to Queen's Park to meet with Minister Dogood, and it's the Morriston Coalition. We're looking at the bypass to extend number 6 around Morriston to the 401. So we went there and had a meeting, probably the better part of an hour, a good meeting. An hour meeting and 5 hours driving and parking and getting out of town. So it's, but I think it was worth the event. So on Monday I had a tour at Mohawk College.